Hey everybody, and thank you very much for joining us for another Free Assange Vigil. My name is Andrew Smith. Joining me tonight is Misty Winston and Mark Lubbers as co-hosts, and then we have Fiorella, Franco, Joy, and Magnus joining us as guests. So I'm super excited to have everybody here tonight, but before we dig into it, I do want to go through the numbers with everyone real quick. We have 3,920 days of illegal and arbitrary detention for Julian Assange. 884 days since the WikiLeaks founder was trafficked from the Ecuadorian embassy after being sold to the US and the UK for a $4.2 billion loan from the International Monetary Fund to the nation of Ecuador. We have 238 days since Vanessa Baratzer's January 6th ruling denying Julian Assange bail after ruling no extradition in his case and personally ordering his release. We have 1,468 days of inhumane pretrial detention for the alleged Vault 7 whistleblower Joshua Schultz, and at least 1,031 of those days have been spent under special administrative measures. We have 883 days since the political persecution of Ola Bini, one of Julian Assange's friends, started at the hands of the Ecuadorian government. In some disturbing news, the two newest pieces, we have 88 days since Commander X was illegally taken from Mexico in rendition to the United States. And we have 38 days of detention served by Craig Murray for publishing in the United Kingdom. And the charges against him, the British Crown specifically cite the publication of his work covering Julian Assange's court trial for why he's such an impactful journalist and should be prosecuted. We have 91 days since Reality Winner was moved into house arrest and is expected to be moved under parole on November 23rd of this year. We have 536 days free for Chelsea Manning, who still does regularly stream to Twitch. And we have 186 days of freedom for Jeremy Hammond. We do have many more people to put on there, Daniel Hale, Edward Snowden, and others. But with that, I do want to pass it over to Misty and say, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. I actually just got done interviewing Pasta and Shonda about their new show To Hell and Back, which is really cool. It's a great show, so everybody should check that out. That interview should be posted later. But yeah, I'm doing well. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of chaos happening. Today was especially interesting, but yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited that we have so many. We have like a banging show tonight. Andrew's been doing a great job booking lately. I have to give it to you, friend. You've been doing a really good job of getting people on.
I've
So
been trying because I felt like I
yeah.
did not too good there for a while, and we skipped a lot of
Well, I think we
Saturdays.
all hit like lulls
Yeah.
in our energy levels. So yeah, and I'm excited for the protest this weekend. So maybe we should kick it over to Magnus, and he can talk a little bit about that, so everybody can make plans for their events.
Yeah, so I'm in DC right now, which is why my quality of stream is not very good. I'm doing this off my phone. But yeah, this Saturday, the 20th anniversary of September 11th, we are having a ton of people out to John Marshall Park, and we're going to march out to the Lafayette Park right in front of the White House. And it's going to be pretty awesome. It's the End the Damn Wars protest. And DC is not the only place. We are now up to 13 events all across the country in California, Oregon, Seattle, Arizona, Florida. There's like 3 events in Florida. We just added Utah, and then there's New York City. So we're all over the place. Colorado. So if you go to the page End the Damn Wars, which I think most of the people here are either going to be there or supporting some form of action with it, then yeah, you can get all the information. You can show up.
Yeah, I'm
And
really
all those
excited.
links
I'm
are in
really
the
glad.
description. The fundraiser is still going on.
Yeah.
Preferably donate to the GoFundMe for End the Damn Wars, but we do have the Go Get funding up for the A4A portion that we're providing as well. So whichever one you choose to donate to, we appreciate it. If you cannot, please help share the links because right now really sucks. There's a lot of people that are out of work. We just lost the unemployment benefits, so
Ugh, God,
you
this
can
country
please at least share.
sucks.
But with that, I do want to talk to somebody that was on the ground in DC today, Franco, my friend. You were
Yeah,
out there with
Franco.
the People's Party and those protests. So why don't you talk a little bit about what happened out there today? Because I actually hadn't had a chance to catch up on that yet.
Yeah, it was great seeing them. I went to DC today to talk to whoever I could find there. There were 6 people total other than me, including me with 7 people. I still asked about what happened yesterday. They got arrested. Apparently, it was their choice to get arrested. And I was just questioning them on what legislation they will be proposing. Because as we know, with the corporate Democrats and the progressive Democrats, they approve of legislation that's written by the lobbyists. So we want to make sure that this new party we're not going to keep getting the same thing where they're going to be supporting the same legislation. And, with that, relating to what we're discussing here with Assange, we got to have legislation in that's going to help these whistleblowers, right? So all these issues are related with the protests, like getting that information out to people. We got to have a free press in order to get the message out to people about how these events are happening. But, all these channels are getting suppressed. So it's really difficult. So we got to rely on the effort of all the audience members to share this out to as many people as we can. But yeah, I've been tired. I woke up at 5:30 today to get to work. I work an hour away, and then I went straight all the way to DC. Just an hour and 30 minutes to get there, and then I got home. Now I'm here with you guys. But I'm excited, to be here, and I'm excited to have Magnus and Andrew on tomorrow.
Yeah, and thanks for going to DC. Thanks for going to DC too.
I'm excited to go on September 11th too.
Saturday.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
But thanks for your coverage in DC, because I think that that's important. I think that getting that because you're right. All of this stuff is connected to being able to get information out there, and we don't have a lot of independent journalists who are going to these events and covering this stuff. I don't think that people are recognizing how intertwined all of these things really are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was very impressed and entertained when I saw a video of in front of in front of the Capitol building during the eviction moratorium protests, and I caught that little clip of you questioning AOC, and I was like, wait, I know that guy. That's Franco.
The music now. Let's turn up the music now.
Great. I was screaming.
Listen, and Jesse
I was jumping up and down.
I was too. And then when they were mean to him, I was like, I need to get to DC. I need to go to DC right now. Like they're like being snarky. I'm like, I was like, I have to go to DC. I told my husband, I'm like, you're lucky.
I can definitely feel it for you guys. Like if I was not in DC, I'd be like, oh, I gotta get there right now and call these people out.
That's how I felt. But Jesse Jett also just did a new song, and he sampled that section.
Yeah, that was
video
really cool.
Of Cori Bush coming out with her little boom box saying, "We're gonna play some music, y'all." Like he wasn't asking legitimate questions. Man, that pissed me off. Ooh,
and like again, like Misty's kind of even downplaying it because it wasn't even legitimate questions. It's the only question to be asked. Yes. It's an eviction moratorium protest. You asked what they're going to do about it, and they ran away. So it's like,
yeah. That was Colin who was like, what are you going to do about it? I was like, will people's rent be forgiven? Because otherwise, what the heck is the point?
Yes, Senator Franco, what are you going to do about
that pisses me. Like people say that to me all the time. What are you doing?
Oh no,
I'm
people were
asking
Ohio,
me that. Assholes. Yeah. Like, what do you want me to do? She's a congressperson. Jesus.
But Colin was asking them because they kept saying we, like implying everybody there in front of them. What are we all gonna do as working class people, even though they have millions of followers? They're legislators, and that's why he was asking them, what are you going to do about it as legislators? Mm-hmm. And now do they feel that sense of urgency now? Are they in DC right now?
No,
not at all.
And I know Joy gets that
they're on vacation.
Joy gets that all the time too. I've seen her get it before. What are you doing about it? Well, how about I organize a 56 city march? How about I do that?
That's not good enough. Argument.
No, that's not good enough.
Franco, what it comes down to is they're tired. They're tired. When that person,
we need to help them.
Like, holy shit! I want to help the screen. Oh
what about us?
What about
all the people who worked their asses off to get them elected, thinking that it was an investment, when really it was the opposite of that? I think their life got worse.
Yeah. How dare you ask questions, Franco?
I remember seeing I think that was Fee in the combo couch chat. I was like, oh, I wish I was there. I wish I could teleport over there.
I think we talked about in the group chat, like everybody was like, I know Fee was like, oh, I want to go so bad. And I wanted to go. Oh.
Yeah, you were about to have like the Air Force group chat, like parachute onto DC because everybody was so mad.
Yeah. Between the MCSE group chat, everybody was ready to go to DC.
Will we see politicians on September 11th?
I doubt
Maybe. I heard that Nancy Pelosi was seen by Jackson and all of them who were there today.
Oh.
But she was protected by her,
Of course.
That's the thing is when I like on Twitter, I was like, hey, Ilhan Omar, like we're bombing your home country. Show up to this event. And I like hit up people like Thomas Massey. I'm like, hey, you're an anti-war Republican. Show up to this event. And
Rand Paul.
of course,
And the thing is, when
nobody was interested.
Back in January, when we were at the event for Forced to Vote and for Assange, there were more police than protesters. But then nobody was arresting anybody. Nobody was arresting anybody when Cory Bush and AOC were there.
Yeah.
Because the cops were given orders to not do anything, to not arrest people. And who gives those orders? It's the Speaker of the House, who's the party leadership. And so Nancy Pelosi allowed this to happen. And so it's all controlled opposition.
Of course. Chuck Schumer showed up. If you don't think that's bullshit, come on.
Adam Schiff showed up. Like, holy fuck.
I'm sure it was legit. Chuck Schumer showed up in support. Come on.
Elizabeth Warren showed up to take selfies, which are not selfies, but she calls them selfies. And, you know, when she ran for president, she had this big structural plan that in 10 years, she wanted the rent to go down 10% over the span of 10 years. So it meant a lot that she showed up because that's what matters. It just kind of supersedes all of her shit policies. And look, she's there to take a photo. She's a fucking hero.
Reduce rent by 10% while people are posting that like in New York they're charging people 6 months rent up front and the rent's gone up by I think like 35% or something like that in a bunch of different metro centers. 10% is great.
Yeah, over 10 years.
And Adam Schiff was a prime Russiagator, right? And he also hates Assange. All those politicians hate Assange. They don't talk about it.
Hate Assange? Oh, Tulsi,
Thomas Massey.
Marianne Williamson is a huge.
Marianne Williamson. That's fair.
Yeah, there's like 6 maybe in the entire federal government that aren't awful.
Well, and Marianne Williamson isn't even elected. Elected official, none, 0.
Yeah.
Massey maybe. Massey on a good day, like you know.
Yeah, Massey will at least occasionally mention it.
Yes, but he's not.
What do you guys think about Ilhan Omar mentioning Daniel Hale? Do you guys think that was enough?
Okay? So here's my theory. I have a theory that they're all given their issue, like their thing that they're allowed to speak out on. They're allowed to go outside of the box just a little bit. And I think she was given her issue, and that was the thing that she was allowed to speak out on. I will still praise that, and I will still promote that, and I will still use that to try to get other support for Daniel Hale because I can, and because Daniel Hale needs to be out of prison. So if I can use that to my advantage to get support for him, fine. But I still don't trust her. I still don't think she's any like friend to whistleblowers or publishers or journalists. I'm not like an idiot that way, but it is what it is.
Yeah, take the W's wherever they grow.
Yeah.
It's kind of where I'm at.
You have to, and you just have to learn how to exploit that stuff. Like learn how to use it to your advantage when it happens to pop up.
Yeah,
like that.
proceed with caution.
Yes.
Right? Because they do this all the time. They're doing it right now with the L3 pipeline. They're doing it too. The squad went minus AOC.
Yep.
They all went and they took pictures and they're like,
this
"Oh,
isn't
we're
her
here."
issue.
But it's like, okay, like, yeah, like it's like they take turns to say, okay, like we're here, but what are you doing about it legislatively?
Nothing.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I got into a bunch of hot water over the last week because I've gone on a mission to I've gone on a mission to expose Ron DeSantis as a piece of shit. And he's the same way to everyone thinks he's this free speech warrior or something. Yeah. And then I point out that he was sanctioning businesses for refusing to do business with Israel and literally sicking the Florida Business Commission after Ben and Jerry's just because they didn't want to do business with Israel. Like, holy fuck. And people got really mad at me pointing that out. So yeah, everyone has their issue that they're allowed to be platformed on.
Yeah, I really believe that that's true. And I really think that that's how that they keep the votes exactly where they need them to be in order to get an issue passed that will benefit the predator class or to not or whatever. There's always just enough votes, right? Just enough.
I could really
allowed to... Go ahead.
I could check you guys right now. I had Congressman Ro Khanna on my show 4 times. And the last time I had him on was about a year ago. And he talked about whistleblowers on his own and said Julian should be free. That almost knocked me on my ass. Bro fucking Kana said that.
Yeah, that surprises me because he's not great on Assange. Like he might bring it up, but he'll do the whole he might have done some bad things that we don't agree with,
Oh,
but
God.
like he does that bullshit, which
Yeah.
infuriates me. But
Some Israel Palestine both sidesism kind
both
of thing.
sides, yes.
Yeah.
And Nina Turner did the exact same thing. That's why I got no love for Nina Turner. Well, it's one of reasons, but I mean, she did the whole thing with Tulsi. I will give her credit. She had Tulsi on her show to discuss the legislation about Assange and Snowden and the Espionage Act, and I appreciate that. But she gave that whole response where, well, we don't have to agree with what he did, but and I hate that. You don't need to equivocate. Stop equivocating. He's a publisher. He didn't do anything wrong. It shouldn't be hard to stand up for against what's happening to Julian Assange. It really shouldn't. Anybody that takes an objective look at that case, it's very clear. And if you're an intelligent person and you know better and you keep equivocating like that, I have no time.
Which speaking of which, we can bring up the big oops they did in the court trial very recently, where they slipped up and admitted that journalism is not a crime. In fact,
yeah,
the prosecution said that.
Who knew, y'all? It's not like we haven't been screaming that for 10 years. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Whoops.
Really, though, people ruin their argument when they say, "I don't agree," but like then what the heck? Like, what the heck is even the point of you arguing? You just threw it all away by saying that. Like the whole point is that you agree with him sharing information. I mean, that we deserve to know what we're doing.
That's what I'm saying. There is no equivocation is needed. What he revealed is unbelievably important and game changing. He revolutionized journalism. The things, I mean, we don't need to equivocate. It's like I say all the time, because there's been like that 10-year propaganda campaign against him. So it's like not to this, like Assange gets it worse, but the same thing happened with Tulsi. If you supported Tulsi, or if like when I would support her position on the Espionage Act, I would catch myself saying, I don't support Tulsi, but I like this legislation. And no equivocation is needed. I like the legislation, period. I don't need to explain anything further.
It's always like preempting the trolls, which is never good, because the trolls are going to come anyways. Like, it doesn't matter how carefully you word it, or if you like me all the time. Anytime I say something positive about Tulsi, it doesn't matter if I put in like 100 things of like, this is all the stuff that I think she's awful on. I disagree with all. I could put all of that in the same tweet, and people will still lose their shit over it.
Fiorella supported Bernie. Fiorella supported Bernie, and they still call. Well, I see it happen. They do it to me too, but Fee gets it more. People still call her a Tulsi supporter. She's like, "What are you talking about?" I supported Bernie. I voted for Bernie. Yeah,
I'm the biggest one. I'm the biggest Tulsa. It's funny. Pasta will be sitting right next to me, and they'll be like, "Fiorella," and he's like, "I was the one that supported Tulsi."
He's the one that supported Tulsi.
People got mad though. It's because of Bernie. It's because like they felt like I betrayed Bernie or whatever. Like, but I felt like Bernie let us all down.
Bernie betrayed us.
Like, I mean, I love that guy. Like, I was like, I think Joy, you can understand this. It's difficult when all of this is falling apart. Like, we put all of our like trust in this dude, and that was part of the mistake too. Was like thinking that, oh, maybe this guy could change so much of what was wrong with the system. And that was a really eye-opening thing, I think, for a lot of us. And for a lot of people, it just pushed them back further into the right, into the Democratic Party, because now they're shitting on anything that's a direct action. Anything that is like general strike and all the things people are working on, they're shitting on that too. It doesn't matter what it is. They're going to shit on it. So I think we should stop caring about what those people think, period. Because I feel like I find that this group is like, even still, we sometimes try to like say things a certain way so we don't get like smeared as red, brown, and all this other bullshit. I am done giving a shit about what
I don't give
think.
a shit.
Then I'm not mincing my words. I'm not doing that anymore. They will never accept us. Ever, ever, ever.
Well, no, and they'll just take old tweets out of context.
Like one of the DSA heads go after her, I believe it was, that Owen. Literally just for having an anti-war podcast. That was like the craziest thing I had ever seen.
Yeah, it was well, Jimmy Dore, thank you for sharing my post about it. He was in my DMs, like, he has me blocked, but I'm sharing the post. It was incredible. I'm like, first of all, why the fuck didn't you tag me?
Because he's a coward.
Why did you screenshot? Because I will bitch you the fuck out. So, and then he's saying things that aren't even true. I'm the I'm the creator of the Medicare for All marches. I'm like, no, I'm not, asshole. And he had this run-on sentence. The entire tweet was like one sentence, and it was just full of nonstop lies, all of it. And I'm like, you calling yourself a journalist is so repulsive. And then you have real journalists who are locked up. That's the problem.
That's a big part of the problem.
It's absurd because like it it should be. I think they recognize as a condemnation of their strategy because like why is it Misty and Andrew doing Julian Assange protests and not someone more important? So they get mad at it. Why is Joy running around doing Medicare for all marches and not like the squad or any of the people that are actually in Congress?
Question.
And they get mad at that. Why is it that our like insignificant random people are putting on an anti-war march right now? They get mad at that. Like they hate. It's like an inferiority complex or something. They get so reactionary and mad to it.
A lot of it's bot activity where they're just trying to discourage activity of any kind whatsoever, any kind of coordination or organization or any kind of fighting back. The people who are right now telling you that marches are a waste of time and that protests are a waste of time. I get it. Like there's going to have to be a point where we go beyond that, but marches are still incredibly important. That's where you build community. That's where you, coordinate with people who have the same interests as you and have conversations and strategize and brainstorm and talk about the things. We were just talking about this with Pasta and Shonda. That's where they decided to do the show that they're doing. It was when we were in DC. When you get in a room full of people that are on the same wavelength and you have conversations, you can strategize and plan. And, that's a very important thing. So don't let people, I'm so tired of everybody shitting on every direct action that is ever attempted. If somebody is doing that consistently, there's a reason they're doing it. So just ignore them. Yeah. Ignore them. These are the same people who don't do shit. They're not organizing. Where's the Miami March for Medicare for All? I'm still waiting.
I was just gonna say,
waiting. Where is it?
With professionals, right? Yeah. Great point. And Magnus brought up something great. It's like they have like this inferiority complex, right?
Yes.
It's like if we standing up as working class people taking the action that these organizers and chiefs, these Bernie Sanders and AOC, that they don't do, when we step in and do it, they take it as us attacking these politicians for their lack of action.
You should.
If it was Bernie or like the AOC, like if they were the ones organizing an End the Wars protest or an Assange protest or a March for Medicare for All, they would be praising it nonstop.
Yes,
they would be sharing the shit out of it. They would fly out over there to see it, just to be starstruck by seeing Bernie Sanders or AOC their savior.
Yeah.
But if it's some random working class person or somebody with a podcast, they think that, oh no, they don't deserve that. They're not my hero.
Really? You don't have to heroize me. I don't want to be your hero, but somebody needs to do it. Somebody needs to fucking do it. I'd much rather stay home with my kids. I would much rather stay home with my kids than drive 6.5 hours to DC to go stand outside for 12 hours or whatever, and then drive 6.5 hours back. That's time away from my family. That's time away from my kids.
Somebody like make a mess. Like they like spilled their juice. Like you're not just gonna like leave it there. And if you see everybody else just like sitting around not cleaning it up, you're like, no one's gonna clean this up. I guess I'm gonna have to be the one to do it, right?
That's essentially like the WikiLeaks syndrome. That's how the mainstream media treats Julian Assange and treats WikiLeaks. Like he's the person and his organization that released more classified documents and more revelations of war crimes than all the rest of them combined.
That's different. I think that's
exactly.
Well, it's the scale, like. Right, because they're the people that are supposed to be organizing. They're the people that are supposed to be leading the anti-war charges and the anti-censorship charges and the My Body, My Choice charges, right? But instead, what they do is just shit on absolutely anyone that tries to do absolutely anything. And I think it's fun just to call them out. Like someone will talk a little shit and you're like, hey, look at this idiot over here trying to tell us not to organize.
I would just really
that was the thing.
What do they want us to do?
Have any of them organize anything? I'm legitimately asking because it's the same people over and over and over again. I've never seen them post about an event that they're holding. If you're holding an event, let us know.
A certain Miami person did post pictures of himself 2 years ago canvassing for a candidate,
a corporate Democrat,
support Medicare for All. So at least he's doing something.
Yeah. Bravo.
But not to the benefit of the working class people.
No.
Right, that's what I said. Like, this is a really good tactic that everybody at home should do, because I exposed the hell out of like 13 people doing this. Of when I started posting about the eviction moratorium, and I was like, hey, people, like, we need to like organize and do something against this because it's going to be really bad. Misty remembers this, and I had a whole bunch of people jump in, like, oh, you're just trying to co-opt this and blah blah blah. I went to Twitter, and in the advanced search feature, you can search keywords, and you can see if an account has ever posted certain words in the entire history of their account. And I went through these people, and I typed rent moratorium, rent strike, eviction crisis. And some of these accounts were made 2009. They had never once posted about this issue, but then they were jumping my stuff. And then someone else did it with the anti-war thing, and I searched Syria, Libya, Somalia. They had never once used those words on their accounts. Like, shut up.
They don't know anything about foreign policy.
No, that's pretty. There's a lot of crossover with people.
Which explains their lack of action and why they get mad at us when we want to take action, because they don't understand the urgency.
They don't care. I don't think foreign policy for most Americans is like a foreign. They don't give a shit. They don't care. It doesn't affect them in the face every day. It's not, which I get. Like, you know, not being able to see a doctor. You know what I mean? Like, that's
but they
more
don't
pressing.
know it does. It's not explained to them how it affects them, because as these corporations take resources from other countries, they enrich themselves. They have more money and power to pay off our politicians, which write legislation that oppress us. Mm-hmm. So it does affect us directly, but I mean, they're not taught that way, and it's done on purpose.
Yeah. Yes, it is done. They're misinformed on purpose.
Scott did that whole bit on Steve's show that was so good, where he talked about how ingrained the military was with the economy. And he was like, if you're in the tube stock industry and you're not trying to get a Pentagon contract, you're fucking up. You know, Colgate toothpaste puts their best person in DC because that's how big the military is in the economy. It affects everything.
Yeah, we've talked about that on Facts on the Ground many times, mostly with Danny Scherzen, about how intertwined, and some with Morgan Archikina too, how intertwined foreign policy is with domestic policy. There is no separation. There's no separation whatsoever. But a lot of people, because it's not something that is like directly impacting, it's kind of like free speech, because it's kind of an abstract concept and it's not something that's in your face every day. Like not being able to see a doctor, that's pressing. Like that causes immediate stress for people. But you know, if we're bombing Somalia, most people just don't, it's out of sight, out of mind. The idea that you won't be able to protest anymore because it's not affecting you every day, it's out of sight, out of mind. And we have to do a better job of communicating.
But it's also because you don't have good journalists on the ground in Somalia, right?
No, they don't.
It's very hard.
No.
That was the whole thing with the drone strike that killed a bunch of children. Of like, we were calling out the Pentagon because they were claiming that they didn't kill any children, but they got their target. And it's like, how do you know? You have no one on the ground. The only people on the ground are Russian. Today. Shut up.
Magic words.
Yeah. RT is on. Yeah. But we don't. They learned their lesson from Vietnam. We don't put reporters on the ground in war zones anymore. They don't want you to see that stuff. Because if you see it, you'll be against it. I guarantee you.
Yeah, but I'm also surprised with the USA when they discuss like in the Assange case, they make it all about this person, but actually all these politicians, all they should be discussing is the actual content of the files released on WikiLeaks.
Yeah,
because they're all 100% verified. They shouldn't even be talking about Assange. I don't see how their opinion matters at all in that sense.
An opinion about Assange as a person should matter absolutely none whatsoever.
No.
I've never met him, but he could be the biggest asshole on the planet Earth, and I would still be against what's happening to him.
Yeah.
Period. I don't give a shit. He could be like the smelliest, poop smearing, cat not taken care of, piece of shit, asshole, misogynist. I don't care. I don't care.
It's like when you write an essay, right? And then you write a lot of stuff that's just unnecessary, and then your teacher has to cross it out. So it's like, I don't like Assange because like he looks this way, or he's like an asshole in his personal life. It's like, is that sentence necessary to the topic that you're discussing?
No,
that needs to get crossed out. It's like, I saw somebody pointed that out when Tulsi made a tweet about Britney Spears, like, regardless of her music, and like how she like what Britney Spears
that was
does.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, it's like that should get crossed out. A teacher would cross that out. It's not necessary for you to say.
Why did you have to get that dig in? Like, Tulsi's weird to me. Like, she's weird. Like, there's some stuff that she does, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. And then there's other stuff, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like,
well, she's trying to walk that most delicate line that makes her still electable, but she, the based but electable thing that some Republicans even try to do, and it's like,
I wish she'd just say fuck it and just like go all out, because I think probably she's pretty good. But you're right. I think she does try to, like, she wants to hang on to that, like, in the system. Fuck the system, yo. Fuck it. Fuck it.
Do you guys remember like a year or two ago when Trump was in office and someone started releasing emails he had written, and like emails to his cabinet had written and stuff, and the shitlibs were like, yes, oh my god, I can't wait to read them all, oh my god, this is amazing. And I'm like, do y'all know what fucking hypocrites you sound like right now?
That's what the two-party illusion does to people.
To the leaked phone calls with Trump and the former president of Afghanistan at this point, where they're like, oh, we can't talk about that, we can't talk about that, when it's literally just straight firsthand, like, this is what was said. And
they did that same thing. If people remember
in the White House, you're perfectly cool with that shit happening. But when it's your guy in the White House, you're like, oh, this is terrible. It's just the vapid unprincipledness of all of it.
I mean, if you remember, it's quite a while ago now when all the leaks came out from Janet Yellen and all of them talking to the Ukrainians about the revolution over there, and essentially like trying to play kingmaker over in Ukraine. Because it was Obama, we're like, let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
Bury it. And it's like, you hypocrite motherfucker.
It's Hunter Biden in Ukraine. I mean, it's all like, it's when your team does it, it's fine. When the other team does it, it's literally the worst thing that's ever happened to the United States of America. Like, that's the level of drama that they go to. Like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of ever. But if your team does the exact same thing, it's fine, and you can you'll defend it to the death, and you'll cheerlead for it, and you'll make exceptions and justifications, and the intellectual inconsistency makes me really angry.
That's happening a lot on the left. I mean, if you guys saw what recently happened with Glenn Greenwald and Chelsea Manning, like how I remember I was in a Facebook group that I created for Chelsea Manning, and as soon as she met up with those, right-wing nationalists, people like canceled her. I was like one of the people saying, oh, maybe she was just trying to talk to them, and like just like that, that is what she's doing now. And it's all based on political opinion. It's based on beliefs when it comes to COVID, when it comes to January 6th and Tucker Carlson. Like, it's not based on anything substantial. And so like I find the left being very like just they're all over the place. They're playing team sports too much. And they're completely ignoring like a lot of the actual fascism that's knocking on our doors right now with the surveillance state. And it's just crazy how people, surround themselves with like the Intercept crew, right? Like that whole crew. And it's like, oh, now I have to play ball. I have to watch what I say. Yeah. It's so obvious.
No, the fact that wait, hold on, because we haven't talked about the Chelsea Manning thing with the Glenn Greenwald thing yet, and I have to get this off my chest because this it sucks. I mean, those of us who are in like the Assange community and we've seen this coming for a long time. We've been talking about it in group chats and all that. We've seen kind of where she was headed, where her mind was at, and we kept our mouth shut because she's Chelsea. You know what I'm saying? And we have a great deal of respect for her. I still do. Yeah. I still 100% respect her and what she did. But the fact that she is hanging out with Ken Klippenstein and like praising him, that's dangerous. They have corrupted 3 different sources. They've given up 3 different sources and hired a guy that screwed over a 4th source. So the fact that she's a whistleblower and she's lending credibility to the Intercept is incredibly dangerous. And I wish she wouldn't do it. And then the stuff with Glenn Greenwald, the only thing that really bothered me about this, well, there were multiple things, but the vagueness of her accusations were really shady. That's shady as fuck. If you're going to come out and say that you're scared of somebody, you better be explaining why, and you better be coming with receipts, and you better be ready to back that statement up, because that's a really heavy accusation. And to be that vague, and then for Glenn to be able to provide evidence that it's really just about the fact that he goes on Tucker Carlson and says stuff that she doesn't agree with, that's shady. That's not something that you should do to somebody. I mean, if you want to have those disagreements, disagreements, then do it. If you want to do it publicly, that's fine too. But to make these vague accusations and for it to be over just like, just a disagreement about platforming or whatever, that's just to me, it's too much. And I still have a great deal of respect for Chelsea Manning. I will still support her. I will still donate to fundraisers that she has and all of those things. But she's just on a different path, and it sucks. It's depressing. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's talk about that
hard.
real quick with the Intercept's track record. I presented this to Glenn Green. I mean, not Glenn Greenwald, to Ryan Grimm about the track record, and he said, I mean, you can't trust any outlet because it's dangerous no matter what, is what he was saying. And then he said something that wasn't true about how WikiLeaks gave up Chelsea Manning. But also, I brought up Piero Midyar and his comments about whistleblowers, and I was like, "Are you going?" And then he's like, "I don't really want to know." He said something like, "I don't want to know what he said." So he was exposing himself, and this is probably how a lot of the people in the Intercept may think. It's like, I don't want to know how horrible this guy who I'm working for, or who funds my institution, what they think about these whistleblowers and how their interests are against what the people want. They're not considering their safety. And then I asked him before he left, I was like, will you look more into Piero Midyar? And then he was like, I'll see about it, but we'll see, like he said.
Wow.
So many of these people, it's all about the bag at the end of the day. It's all about the money, the security, the attention bard.
As long as they are doing fine, as long as they are comfortable at home and they get to distract themselves with their family and kids, there's no sense of urgency for them.
No.
But for the working class people who are suffering, the millions of Americans losing their homes, who are living paycheck to paycheck, we feel their urgency.
Well, Ryan Grimm likes to punch down at those people. That's his gig. That's what he likes to do.
Thanks to Jimmy Dore for asking me on your show so I could expose that motherfucker even more. It was lovely. It felt good.
Yeah, Ryan Grimm's a piece of shit. I mean, and listen, I will say this though. I don't like to tell people like what to do, but if y'all could please stop directing your hate at Ryan Grimm towards Tara Reid, that'd be cool, because she has a reason to feel some allegiance to him. I respect that. I respect her. She doesn't need your comment in all of her threads about how Ryan Grimm sucks. He does suck, but just leave her alone. Just leave her alone. Yeah. You don't have to. It's not her fault that he's a piece of shit, and she has reason to feel allegiance to him. That's fine. Leave her alone. Okay.
So, and if anything, like what's going on with TYT should show people that all of these people put their own heads on spikes eventually. Like, you don't have to attack everyone around or do like the cancel thing. Like, these people eventually will kill themselves through their own, exposing their own tribalism and grifting kind of ideology they have.
Yeah. Real quick, I just wanted to comment on what Misty said on the mass generalization of Chelsea Manning too, because that's something like Pasta and I had a conversation about.
Yeah, your guys' episode was great about that.
This is what's happened to us, like with actual friends of ours, like, and it's crazy. I mean, from the perspective of a friend, like you expect at least for those discussions to be private. And when it was put so blatantly on the internet, so generalized and broadened, where people were like, oh my God, what did this man do to this poor woman? Like, then, that's very, very nefarious. And it allows for assumptions to be made. And it's what people do to a lot of us here, where they're like, oh, they're funded by right wingers, or they're funded by this person, or they're best friends with Jack Posobiec, when it's not the case at all. And when you make broad generalizations like that, it's the internet, and there's a lot of people that believe something and they make shit up and they make their own conclusions. And that's why I feel like that was a very, very disgusting thing to do. Right. And I will always respect Manning for what she did. And that will never change. However, as somebody that you can trust, and somebody that you see as a good person right now, no, that for me changes. That is a separate issue, of course, from what was done as far as the whistleblower goes.
Well, and she talks about solidarity a lot, and she's now thrown Julian Assange under the bus a bit, and then she threw Glenn Greenwald under the bus a bit for really no reason. I mean, there was no reason to make the comments she made about Julian Assange.
What did she say? I'm not aware of that.
It was very flippant. She went on Intercepted with Ken Klippenstein and Ryan Graham, and she said something like, if 10 years ago, if Ken Klippenstein had been around, I would have given the leaks to him, and I'll just leave it at that. Like, it was kind of like it wasn't terrible, but it was like a snide put down kind of about Julian Assange. And she was gassing up Ken Klippenstein, who again works for the Intercept that is known for burning sources. Let me just reiterate again, that's who she's praising.
The Intercept pays more money to Bellingcat than the UK government does.
Yes.
So
this is who she's praising.
Private intelligence.
And like I said, like I'm
corporation.
That's who she's praising, and that's what I had a problem with. That was my general problem with that whole situation. But then the Intercept, of course, then used that quote from her to gas up the episode. So it was like published and like promoted and like blasted all over social media. And the dude's fighting for his life. He's being tortured right now. And this is the shit that you're pulling. To me, I found that unbelievably disgusting. Like, that's in really bad taste.
I'm on the outside of all of this, so I can be a little bit more mean. And I've constantly over the last week called that out as auditioning for the mainstream media. That's what it comes across as me. Like, hey, I have all these acceptable opinions. I'm all heroic. Like it's the shit lib casting call performance to me. That's how it comes across as me, because didn't need to shit on Glenn Greenwald like that. Didn't need to shit on Julian Assange like that. Didn't need to do a lot of the things she's done, but she did them. Yeah. So you got at the end of the day, almost everything we do is for something. We're trying to accomplish something. We're saying everything we're saying for something. So it's like, okay, what are you doing all this for? What is your end goal here? Because it's not for whistleblowers.
No, I know, but you also she's been through a lot of shit, and so I am a little bit more
that.
Forgiving. And seriously, I'm not lying when I say that this one hurts. Like, it sucks to watch her do this, and it really, I mean, it's not enjoyable for me at all. Like, people said something about the other day that, oh, you're just loving this, aren't you? No, I fucking hate it. Are you kidding me? This sucks.
More, like, you mean you don't love more pointless infighting and drama? You don't love that? Oh my God, that's your favorite thing in the world.
Especially not when it flies in the face of the activism I'm trying to do, and it makes it harder for me to do the activism that I'm doing. When Chelsea Manning is shitting on Julian Assange, who I'm trying to get out of prison, that's not helpful. It's not helpful. And
I just like. And I mean, you know me, Misty, and same with you and Fee and Andrew. Of like, I just have a very visceral allergic reaction to snitches, and that's what the Intercept is. So any these snitches are good people. I'm like,
no. Again, they're all pieces of shit. They are. I mean, you can't work at the Intercept and not be, controlled. Period. I don't know how anybody could debate that at this point anymore.
I'm shocked she even went on that show, to be quite honest.
No, if you've been, so like I said earlier, we've seen this coming. Like, she's been kind of she's a squad stan. She's kind of, it's been apparent for a while now. And we just all have been like slowly dying inside watching it happen, but we just leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I got mad the first time when she went after, I'm classifying it all wrong, but I'm hyped up and overly dramatic about it. But when she said shit about Julian Assange, I was mad at myself because I constantly tell people that it doesn't matter who it is, you should be willing to criticize them. And I was biting my tongue because it was Chelsea Manning, and that just made me even more mad. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm a hypocrite now. I'm a hypocrite because I don't want to criticize her because she's Chelsea Manning. And
and like I said, that's just something, like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm the pariah here, so I can do things like that, to the point where the whole Proton Mail thing happened, where they turned over a bunch of environmental activists' personal information to the police. And I called them out publicly, and the people who run their Twitter account jumped into my mentions and were arguing with me. And they're like, well, we have to follow the law and we have no option. And I'm like, fuck you. You're snitches. You turned this over to the police. Like, you sold yourself as an encrypted, secure platform. And you turned over environmentalist activists, which I care about a lot, information to the police. So, like, that's kind of like, So the fact that anyone who's a whistleblower, who sat in jail over whistleblowing,
was tortured,
would then go to snitches and be like cool with them. It's like,
and legitimize that. That's what, seriously, because that's dangerous. Other whistleblowers are going to look at that and be like, oh, well, Chelsea Manning trusts them. So, don't, please. I'm telling you, if you're a whistleblower, stay far the fuck away from the Intercept. far, far, far away from the Intercept. Please, I'm begging you. Don't go to the Intercept. Please. Go to WikiLeaks, go to maybe Shadowproof, Glenn Greenwald, like a John Pilger, somebody like that. Do not go anywhere near the Intercept.
And that's the whole thing is like you add that 1-2 punch, which makes it like all borderline conspiratorial of me, of legitimizing the Intercept and then delegitimizing Greenwald. And it's
Assange.
That's like,
I don't disagree with that, especially with the now wanting or being more in AOC's orbit and all of that. But I think at the end of the day, it really just fucking sucks. Because we literally have mountains that we need to move to stop the techno-dystopian future being imposed on literally the whole world, which is way scarier to me than any one individual person or entity that's literally exposed an entire fascist network throughout all of countries.
Yeah, we're punching way above our weight class, and this shit doesn't help.
Which I mean, by the way, like any time I look over to the right side of my Twitter tab on my computer and see Glenn Greenwald trending, I'm like, God damn it, this is gonna be something stupid, isn't it?
Yes.
And it always is.
Being on Tucker Carlson again.
He gets
or being
under
called out
people's
for being on Tucker Carlson.
Ooh, man. I've never seen anybody get under people's skin quite like Glenn Greenwald. Sometimes he does say like some really overly provocative shit, I think, just to get a rise. But most of the time he's getting shit. I'm like, why are you mad? I'm confused. Why are we mad? Like it doesn't make sense. And
that's always what I'm saying is like you think there'd be more important thing to be mad about.
Yeah.
Like how is Glenn Greenwald's interactions with Chelsea Manning headline news when the eviction moratorium's going on, everyone's getting clicked out of unemployment, Afghanistan's burning to the ground. Like there's all these world-shaking events happening right now. And Glenn Greenwald getting into a spat with Chelsea Manning is headline news. It's like, fucking God.
Yeah,
I posted yesterday.
Oh God, it's so dumb.
I posted yesterday on Twitter that it was incredible that Rihanna was trending, considering people were losing their unemployment benefits.
Right.
Never trended.
Bitch is a billionaire, and y'all, I don't care.
We have a lot of work to do because a lot of people still try to distract themselves with entertainment, with these actors and actresses, their favorite shows and dramas and movies.
Or they create
for some escapism, but don't let that be the focus
the petty beef
of everything.
That happens in left spaces,
the
Jimmy Dore TYT stuff, which I'm not saying that was just beef. I know Jimmy feels very strongly when people say that. I'm not saying it was just beef, and he was absolutely right to call that shit out because he was getting blackmailed, and that was like shady as fuck. But then it turns into like this months long like mega drama, and there are more important things going on than Cenk Uygur and Jimmy Dore hating each other. I don't give a shit. Like if somebody's slandering somebody or smearing somebody, yes, we should call that out. But otherwise, I don't give a shit.
But then we move on after we call it out, right?
Yes. We had him on the vigil. We talked about it, but it doesn't have to be like a daily fucking thing where that's all we talk about for 3 months. It doesn't.
That's why I love all of y'all so much, because even on the right and like LP circles, they're always just chasing their tail on dumb shit. Always. And it's so frustrating. So it literally is the left, the right, and wherever you want to put libertarians, like everybody is just chasing their tail on dumb shit. It's so frustrating. Like I think like all of like libertarian Twitter devolved into a giant debate about religion last week, and I'm like, that's the important issue right now. Fucking God, are you kidding me?
Twitter is very funny though. It is funny because it's like constant drama. It really is.
Always drama.
There's a lot of it's because I had never paid attention much. Like leftist Twitter's that way.
You weren't missing much.
I had never. But now that like I'm friends with you and I'm friends with Reed and I'm friends with like I've had Scott Horton on my show and like so my like worldview is expanded on Twitter a little bit, and it's the same bullshit. It's the same petty, dumb ass high school drama.
Oh yeah, and I mean if you go over to the right, which like I don't consider myself part of that crowd, but it's just people like Fuentes and the Trump people arguing all the time. And it's like, oh my God, it's literally the same everywhere. It's all this irrelevant, stupid bullshit constantly.
So how do we wake people up from this tribalism and make them more self-aware so that they don't fall into these distractions about drama?
That's a great question, because we can't even get people to be okay. Like Joy got a bunch of shit just for having Magnus. I mean, Fee and I and Franco, have you dealt with a lot of shit for having Magnus on your show? Because I feel like it's more directed at females than it is males.
Well, in fairness, I did kind of call that on myself, to be honest, because I did not know who Magnus was.
Oh, okay. So
when
you
I
told
was-
on yourself. Okay. That makes more sense.
What's
now.
that?
Okay. You kind of told on yourself then, like nobody knew you were having him on, and you were like, "Okay, I'm
Oh
going to
no,
cancel the
I
show." Is that
posted
what?
I was having him on.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't know who he was. I just asked
Did you get
damn
shit?
to give me 2 people.
Did you get
So
shit
I
for
didn't know
having
who he
him?
was.
But
Oh
you
yeah,
didn't get
Joey
shit?
got absolutely bombed for it. Which
Okay.
again,
I
my
know.
apologies. Which,
But
by the
you
way,
know,
like I am
no,
never,
no.
I'm never
Don't
offended by that.
apologize.
I'm never offended by
apologize
that.
to you because I've done this shit for over 4 years. I should have known better. This is about the issues. It doesn't fucking matter. And like an hour beforehand, I was sent info and I was like panicking and I was like, oh shit, I should just
That's
cancel.
normal.
And then like I immediately was like, why the fuck did I do that?
Right.
So I'm like, come on tonight. Like, please forgive me. Come on
No,
anyway.
yeah.
And I'm
I don't
did
blame
because-
anybody for that
Yeah.
though, so it's okay. Like I understand
I'll admit,
the
I was
discourse.
disappointed. No, I was disappointed at first because I was like, when I saw you were having him on, I was super jazzed about it. I'm like, this is awesome. So when you canceled him, I'll be honest, I was like, oh man, that kind of sucks. Like that's shitty. And then when you decided to have him back on, I'm like, all right, that's amazing. Like that, at least she was able to examine it because, like I've said before, and people give me shit all the time. Magnus knows this. I consider Magnus a friend. He is one of the most lied about and smeared people on Twitter. Period. End of story. Like he's nothing that they make him out to be. He's regularly called a Nazi and a fascist and a white supremacist and all of this stuff, and none.
And
of
by
that
the
is
way,
true.
on the other side of that, I'm called like a communist and like an AOC stand and a member of Antifa. Like I get literally every label you can imagine applied to me.
Yeah. And none of
someone the other day called me a Karen, and I have been like just cringing ever since. That's like the worst thing you could ever call me. That is just so wrong.
Someone accused me of being a Fed yesterday for criticizing Ron DeSantis. They're like, only an FBI agent would criticize someone who worked at Guantanamo Bay.
I don't know if I've ever been called
What do you mean?
Have I ever been?
They say that when you criticize like the progressive,
Oh yeah, they do.
progressive Democrats, they're like,
that's
"Oh,
true.
you're a Fed. You're working with," as if these are like the great resistors that are supposed to bring peace to the universe.
I think that's why I'm friends with Magnus, because we both get called all of the words.
We get Fed jacketed constantly.
So you get
yeah.
communists from like the right. Is that they call you communist?
Yeah, I get called names from not the right. I don't really. The right doesn't really fuck with me at all. Like they don't.
Me either.
Lucky you.
Come on.
So
Lucky
they call
all of you,
a
dude.
communist, Magnus?
Oh yeah,
Magnus
I
a
literally.
communist.
I don't.
I
get
literally-
any trolls,
Misty's seen it. I
whenever
get accused of
someone
being-
that talks a little bit of shit. I'm like, hey Misty, look at this troll I found.
Andrew loves trolls, and I keep like I need to all of my trolls. If you're, I know you're watching, so go to Andrew. Go bother him for a
They're
little
so
while.
obsessed.
They are so. It's fucking weird. Get a hobby, Jesus Christ.
By the
I've seen this troll, like,
for people
reply to me, and then I saw Andrew going back and forth with them.
Andrew loves
it was
it.
like about masks and about like vaccines.
Andrew loves it.
Yeah, I actually had to delete
By
one of
the
those
way,
tweets.
for
I was like super early in the morning. I was like, ooh, probably shouldn't have put that.
For people that don't know, somebody started an account, which we know who they are, but I won't grace the world with their name. They started an account called Start the Damn Wars.
Yeah.
And they
dumb
proceeded
bitch.
to post my address and my mother's last name onto Twitter. So yeah.
They have
that
my
was
address.
fun.
They haven't posted it to Twitter yet, but they have my address, which fucking creeps me out. You guys are weird.
That just shows how desperate they are and how they don't have anything on us, so they rely on
I'm a
doxing.
stay-at-home mom from Ohio. I'm not that important. I'm not exciting. I have no power. I have no influence, no connections. I'm just some chick in Ohio. That's it. And y'all are obsessed. You need to re-examine your life.
When they
Seriously.
rely on that, when they rely on doxing and like finding and like pranking you and like sending shit to like you and your friends,
Yeah, they
then
have
that's how
pictures
you
of my
know you're
kids.
winning.
Yeah, Fiorella.
You,
sent a bunch
you
of
like they
food to
have
her
nothing
house.
on you.
Yeah.
Right, and like the first time I ever got new, and that was immediately after I had like started like it's a bit of a long story, but I started a beef with like a neo-Nazi biker gang in Detroit. Long story, but that the bikers used the ducks from an anti-fascist account to show up to my apartment and like scream like like homophobic slurs and say they were gonna like kill me and shit like that because I brought a pride flag. And it was like, great, good job. You literally got Nazis to figure out where I fucking live.
Right? It's so bad.
Well, during the Nazi occupation of Germany and Europe, they actually used Antifa with the same flag, different symbols, to quell all dissent. It didn't matter what you were protesting for. If it was in opposition of the centralization of state power, if it was to expose the crimes of that government, Antifa literally would show up at your protests and beat the shit out of you, and then you'd get smeared as right-wingers because they were like the savior communist faction within Nazi Germany. So it was
right. And I mean, like, I don't have
history is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But
You have to.
Right, and like I don't have any
segment because we have a little bit of news and stuff. But I did want to open it up to pass it around to everybody to close out. Give final thoughts for as long as you like. Let people know where they can find you and what you have going on.
Who are we starting with? Andrew?
Fee.
So just closing up. Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Okay. All right. Yeah, you guys can find me at the Convo Couch on Rockfin, at the Convo Couch on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter. And I just want to say as a closing statement that, you know, seeing a bunch of quote unquote Antifa fighting a bunch of quote unquote Proud Boys really grinds my gears. Most of them are feds. Most of them don't know what they're doing or what they stand for. They want to feel important, like they're fighting for some sort of side, when really we're all wasting our time fighting each other. And the people at the top, the predator class state agencies, people with power, politicians, are getting away with everything. They're getting richer and they're planning their next few moves. And it really irritates me. And the way to like wake people up, I think, is to continue these conversations, continue collaborations, get rid of the ego a little bit, and just get shit done. And not be afraid to speak out on the things that may be controversial, but need to be said. So that's my 2 cents.
Yes. Thanks, Fee. Couldn't have said it better myself. How about you, Magnus? You want to tell everybody about the protest, where they can find merch and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so it's End the Damn Wars on Twitter, End the Damn Wars on Teespring, endthedamnwars.org, and End the Damn Wars on GoFundMe. That's all of that. And I guess my closing statement is that all of the political factions have kind of failed us. They have not fought. They have not really done anything significant. All they've done is bickered for the last 10 years. So we really need to come together and find allies anywhere we can, anywhere we should, and fight against all of these issues and reach out to people that you might not expect to support you because they might support you, and build these kind of coalitions and get something actually done, because we haven't really got anything done. We had a year of anti-police brutality protests and we got more police. We had 6 years of anti-war protests and we got more war. We had an anti-eviction protest and we're getting more evictions. So really we've gone much further backwards than we've gone forwards. So we really need to reevaluate how we're handling things, reach out to people we might not expect, and actually start to fight and get in the streets. Anyone who tells you that protesting accomplishes nothing is a Fed. Even if they're not a Fed, they're doing the Fed's jobs for them. So address them as they deserve, and get moving, because it'll never be easier to oppose all of it than it is now. It's only going to get harder. So you can stand on a street corner with a sign now, or you can crawl on your belly through the mud later. And that's how I view it.
Yes. So true. Okay, Joy, what about you? What do you got going on?
So after over 4 years of doing my show with organizations, I've stepped away and now I'm doing my own channel. So if people want to follow me, it is Savage Joy Marie Man on YouTube. I have uploaded over 400 of my previous shows that I've done, and that's where I'm going to be airing and, doing future shows. Also, I'll be doing a Wednesday weekly show with Compton J on Fred Hampton Network, Fred Hampton Leftist Network. So I'm hyped about that. I love them. They've been supportive and so amazing. So yeah, just still, having the same kind of guests on and the same type of show, but just kind of venturing on my own. But yeah, as far as Assange, and this is kind of I digress a bit, but I was at the Occupy DNC protest in 2016 at the convention in Philly for 6 days. And I will never forget how invigorating it was and how exciting it was when you are there. You are marching in 100-degree heat. You are doing 8-hour days, screaming your just losing your voice. And here comes more WikiLeaks dropping. I just got goosebumps. It was so fucking amazing. And Julian's a hero for so many reasons, but my God, that was just, I mean, I can't even explain how euphoric that was when you are literally there and you are watching this unfold. It was, one of the many
I made a meme in 2016, the Dave Chappelle meme, the crackhead, and I was like, "Hey, Julian, got any more of those WikiLeaks?" Because that's what I felt every day.
Which, by the way, the fact that the Taliban accounts on Twitter were retweeting WikiLeaks is peak irony. I'm just pointing that out. And on the other side of that,
how many times are we going to have this situation where what Julian Assange has showed us has proven to be true, and he's still fucking in prison? Do we really got to keep doing this?
Right.
Seriously, do we?
And to the Fred Hampton leftist people, great fucking people, awesome show.
Yes.
I've been habitually exposing them to libertarians, and I cannot even count how many times I've gotten messages of like, they're a bunch of communists and leftists, but they got some good points from like people that are straight like Ron Paul people, and I'm like, yes, good.
That's how we do it, right there, homie. That's how we do it. Okay, Franco, what do you got coming up?
Yeah, just so you can find me on Frank Analysis on YouTube and Rockvin. I'm also on Odyssey. I will be joining you guys on the ground. I'm excited to see you guys. Tomorrow I'll be talking to Magnus and Andrew more in depth about the End the Wars protests. I'll still be covering, news. I'll still be discussing solutions with everybody. I echo what everybody said. Everybody spoke beautifully in their closing statements. We need more unity. We need to wake people up from this two-party illusion. That's at the root of why we're not getting enough progress done, is because people are still stuck in their tribalistic mentality, and that's because of the two-party illusion. We're busy arguing with each other, having fun in these distractions with drama, while the ruling class are laughing at us, sipping their tea as we're all fighting against each other. Just expose to people how this is a two-party illusion. Let people know at the root what is going on, how this is all by design. Like what Magnus was doing, like showing his libertarian friends some of the things that the Fred Hampton leftists do, and then also vice versa, showing people who call themselves Marxist-Leninists the work that Whitney Webb and the Last American Vagabond do. We need to find, what is objectively happening, and that will unite us more. But yeah, thank you guys very much for having me on. We should be mentioning Assange as much as we can when we go out on the ground, because it's related to everything. Without a free press, how can we talk about any of these things?
What are you, some kind of cultist?
You Assangeist?
I'm an Assangeist, bitches. Actually, my friend Wardeer, if you guys weren't watching Bitch this week, as we were on Bitch this week, we were talking about being an Assangeist, and my friend Wardeer from Twitter made me an Assangeist banner for Twitter, which I'll be your fucking cult leader, y'all. I'm in. Let's go. Can we get matching tattoos? Because I like tattoos. If we can get some hourglass tattoos, we were talking about that too. Can you imagine? They would freak.
See, Missy, you have glasses and you're pretty, so you're perfectly set up to be a cult leader. Just go for it.
We can have an A that's kind of like
Magnus called me pretty.
So that'll really scare people.
Yeah. No,
take the compliment from the gay man.
Listen, man, I'm a 39-year-old mother of two. I'll take whatever I can get. Take whatever I can get, homie. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. It's always great to talk to everybody. I feel like we should just talk for hours, but Andrew's a stickler for doing the news, which, he's a pain in my ass, but here we are.
Thank you guys.
Thank all of you
thanks
so
for
much.
coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Deuces.
All right, Andrew, what do we have for news, dude?
Well, this is today, right, marks the start of 1 year since Julian was taken to, since Julian's witness trial started. September 7th is in 2020 is when it officially kicked off. And I was working with Consortium News. I talked with Kathy Vogan, and she gave us permission to, throughout this month, rerun all of the footage that Consortium News put out covering the court trial. So I'm super excited about that. You'll see that started yesterday. I got to get the rest of it scheduled before I leave for DC, but I have all of it downloaded already. So trying here.
Their work is like really always spot on the Assange case, right? I mean,
yes.
they're
They
always
do a
fast.
great job.
Yeah.
They do a really great job. Like they're one of the few outlets that regularly covers it in depth. Like doesn't, take shortcuts, or like they really dig into it. Like they did great like daily coverage throughout the whole like 3 weeks in September and all of that stuff. So they're an invaluable source, really.
It got
And
to
I
the
love
point that
Kathy
they
Vogan.
literally had to release an article about why they were covering Julian's case so much and thank their donors for all of the support. So
they did.
Yeah. But the other thing I'm super pumped about is I'm gonna re-release when Steve and I were covering the court trial in the live tweets as well. I'm gonna try to edit it the best I can. I'm a terrible video editor for anyone that's ever seen anything I've put together, so I don't know if I'm gonna put all of it like that or just put
Can
the
we
raw
have
thing.
some bloopers, please, Andrew? Please, or somebody out there that's watching who's like a great video editor. And listen, the 3 weeks in September when Steve and Andrew had to wake up at like 4:30 in the morning or whatever, and for like the first hour they were like incoherent cavemen, like just grunting a lot. That's some of the best fucking. Seriously, somebody make me like a montage of just like Steve and Andrew grunts, like where they're just pissed off because it's too early in the morning and they didn't sleep. Because that's some funny stuff.
I do have some unreleased content too from when I was in London last year. But in October, I'm going again, and so I'm going to cover what all the activists are doing, right? I'm not going to like interview celebrities, only activists, right? So, but I don't know, like
actually, that's a big month because you have Commander X. I think it's the 13th. I think could be wrong, but in the early teens, and then Julian's in late October, so that's one
27th, 28th.
I'm excited about getting all of that together. I have to reach out to see what some of the other groups have going, but being able to try to get back to DC again or get decentralized global actions, one of the two, is the plan for October.
And especially if you're in the London area, please go. Please go. Please go.
Yeah,
please go.
Because what I did notice was that like when there's like some celebrity showing up or like some famous journalist or whatever, there's like 100 cameras around them, right? Mm-hmm. But there are these activists, including Eric, right? They show up every day. Like as soon as they get out of bed, they go there and they protest for Assange.
The London crew is some of the most dedicated and passionate activists and organizers that I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. They are amazing people. They are fierce, fearless. They are consistent. It's like twice a week. For weeks and weeks and weeks, they go Wednesdays and Saturdays, and they're at every court date, and they're at every. They're amazing, and they don't get near enough props, in my opinion. They should be like they're celebrities to me. Those are my celebrities, Yeah,
they're heroes, right? They like give up everything for it, and
they are.
If people go there, they should actually, I think, talk to them and like ask them like why they're
Daniel
doing
Fuchs, it. Talk to my dude Daniel Fuchs. Talk to Allie Mae. Talk to Eric. And yes, these are amazing people, and they do. And they've been at it for years. They're awesome. They are my heroes. Really, I don't have heroes, but if I did, that would be my heroes right there. They're great. So yeah, that's cool that you're gonna focus on them rather than.
I will be there in October, and I can feed live into this show too. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, but definitely we need a huge London crowd. That's like the epicenter of everything. So if you're in the UK, anywhere, like if you can make it happen, please, 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 I'm begging you, go, please. I wish I could be there. I wish I could be there. I wish that I could fly to London and go myself. I would, but But if you're in the area, please go. We need lots of people. We really do. That's the only thing that's going to stop this.
I can tell you how disturbing it is. I live in a country that is like, when you would travel directly from London to like Amsterdam, it's like 100 miles, right? But there's only one channel covering the Assange case. And they're literally saying like, this is a guy who hacked into stuff in the USA, and they're asking for extradition. That's all they're saying, right?
Yeah.
So it's just myself and a friend, Rico, who's been covering this too, is a journalist from, and he was affiliated to the Pirate Party and stuff in the past, who are going there, and there's no one else going there. There's no mainstream press anywhere in the Netherlands going there. Like they're
Isn't that crazy? Y'all, this is a historic court case on press freedom, and no press is going.
No, it's their freedom. I'm like, we're protecting their freedom, and they're not going.
They're not going. They're not. They don't cover it. They don't talk about it. It's the same in the United States. Like it might get a couple like little quick blurbs on mainstream media. Maybe they might mention it. Like there was a court day in London for Julian Assange, but it'll be very quick. It'll be in passing. They won't dive in deep. It'll probably be misinformation. It'll be bullshit coverage, and that's the best that we get. And that's insane to me. That it's not really. It's depressing. I mean, it's expected. It's just depressing. Mainstream media is garbage.
Well, that kind of leads me to one of the first things with Julian's trial, because leading up to September, as a community, we worked really hard to try to make sure that people who wanted to cover Julian's trial could accurately cover it and could actually not engage in the court process, obviously, but be able to be witness to what was actually happening, which in a way actually turned out to be a really double-edged sword, because it allowed them to get away with closing down the courtroom the way that they did with COVID restriction, literally chasing journalists around the streets for wanting to cover Julian's trial. But as a community, we were able to secure a video link to allow multiple people throughout our groups and reporters to actually cover this firsthand, to view the trial as it was happening via video link, and then a few in person. So I wanted to actually read over the letter that we got from the HM Courts and Tribunal Services. So my computer's running horribly slow, but let me screen share this real quick and I'll read through it. So, this was sent to us from the High Court Tribunal, and when this came in, I sent the email to someone to make sure that it was actually real. It says, "Dear Sir or Madam, I'm writing in response to the letters received at the Ministry of Justice from supporters of the Action for Assange campaign, August 18th, call to demand the hearings be heard. Concerning the upcoming hearing on Julian Assange, which is due to take place at the Crown Prosecutorial Court on September 7th, this was 2020, and the provisions for reporters to have remote access to the hearing by video and audio technology. I am replying on behalf of HM Courts and Tribunal Services as an agency of the Minister of Justice that is responsible for the administration of these courts. I understand that Action for Assange campaign supporters wanted to be sure that these proceedings are transparent and open to the public. I am sorry that members of the media and public who attended the hearing on August 14th remotely were disconnected from the hearing. This shouldn't have happened, and I understand that causes concern for the upcoming final hearing. Public space in the public gallery is limited and was allocated at a first-come, first-served basis. Separate seating allocations and arrangements were put in place. Accredited journalists, however, some could not be accommodated due to the limited number of spaces available at the court building, and this was due to the coronavirus restrictions at the time. This case has attracted vast amounts of both media and public interest, and as a result, the Central Criminal Court is unable to accommodate many requests received to attend the court from journalists and non-governmental organizations, which has been limited due to the social distancing measures in place in line with the Public Health England's guidance. So on a first point here, if you watch any of George Galloway's show, he has callers call in all of the time, and this is to relate this back to a real world issue, right? Talking about coronavirus restrictions and lockdowns and all of these things, when you can literally read the Crown Prosecutorial's words about what measures were put in place to limit access to the most important trial of press freedom. And that's never an aspect of lockdowns or of COVID that is brought up, is the legal aspects of it, the ramifications that we'll talk about in a little bit, where Julian went 6 months without even being able to talk to his attorneys.
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. This is again, a historic court case, and we had the public that it's going to impact for decades to come had no direct access to see what was happening in this courtroom at all. And at best, what we got was journalists who were either in the room attempting to take notes as quickly as they could and cover it as like, live tweets or whatever. And then we had some journalists who had video link access. That's not coverage. Like, this is something that is legitimately going to affect your ability for free speech and press freedom in Western nations and really around the globe. This is the United States seeking global jurisdiction over information and journalism, as we say all the time. So across the globe, this impacts everybody. And we have no direct access to watch what's happening in the courtroom every single day as this is going on. And that's fucking crazy. We should all be concerned about that. I don't care like what, England's court system has. Like, people were saying, that it's very strict and they don't allow cameras or streaming or any of that stuff. No, sorry, homies. You don't get to do this behind closed doors. That shouldn't be okay with anybody. This is a huge case, and everybody should be concerned about the fact that they think that they have the right and the ability to do this in secret, where none of us can pay attention to what's really happening. That's scary that they can do that. Yeah,
it's absolutely horrifying.
Yeah.
So I got 3 paragraphs left on here, so let me limp through this the rest of the way. The upcoming hearing will be made available for accredited members of the media to access virtually using the cloud video platform. This is to ensure that there is no further access issues. There will be a small number of press seats available at the court, and a ticketing system will be in place to manage the request for those accredited media who want to attend in person. Those accredited journalists will need to apply for tickets to attend virtually via the CVP. The Ministry of Justice Press Office has sent an operational notice to journalists and media agencies to notify them of the process for applying for a ticket. The public gallery will be open for members of the public and observers. However, spaces are limited and will be offered on a first-come, first-served basis. I hope my reply helpful and assures the Action for Assange campaign supporters that what we've done to ensure access is available at the hearing commencing on 7 September. Yours faithfully.
Yours faithfully, fuck off. Because even the journalists who had access, there was still shenanigans, there was still connectivity issues. There was a time when Kevin Gosztola wasn't able to even get on for the day. Juan Passarelli by like the end of the first week was just like, fuck it, and was like just writing long ass threads about who even knows what, just complaining about the British justice system in general. There was a lot of shenanigans that went on to try to make this as difficult as possible for people to cover. They even silenced a torture victim, because there was technical issues. It's very convenient that they were allowed to, that this was, something that they were able to do. Again, that's kind of tinfoil hattie, but it's a lot of this stuff seems very interconnected. The Craig Murray being imprisoned before being able to testify in Spain, all of this stuff is very fishy to me. And everybody should be side-eyeing this process because again, this affects all of us. And that there's this level of shenanigans in a court case that's this important, that's troubling.
Assange actually spoke out for this torture victim.
Yes. And this was after he had already been warned to keep his mouth shut. He had already had what they classified as an outburst, where he said that he didn't he didn't want to be silenced or something, or that he stood up and said something, and the judge warned him, if you speak out again, we're going to throw you out of your own trial.
The first time he spoke up, it was in regards to the U.S. prosecution saying that they were only covering the sources, that it wasn't about the classified information, it was just about the sources that got released.
But he had already been warned, if you speak out again, we're going to throw you out of your own trial. And then they tried to silence a torture victim, and he was like, I'm not having any of this.
Yeah, so he said, I will not allow a torture victim to be silenced in the court.
Yeah. That's again, I don't know Julian Assange, but anybody who's willing to risk being thrown out of his own trial when he's up against the United States government to speak out for a torture victim, that's somebody I can ride with. That's somebody I can ride with.
But so after that wonderfully long, all those words, right, that the United Kingdom sent us in that wonderful letter, this happens. My computer's going to murder me. Right, so first day of court, Julian gets brought in. He gets rearrested. DMs are open. Gets rearrested under the new prosecution, and I'm sure we'll talk about that too. But immediately, right, as soon as everything happens, Julian's rearrested. He says that he's contesting the extradition. According to the reports from Kevin Gosztola, we're going through housekeeping items. Baritza ruled that 40 applicants for remote video access were excluded. We have no idea who they were. The court claimed the administration granted access in error to these individuals. And if I remember correctly, it was actually 40 press outlets that were thrown off. It wasn't that they were rejected, it's that they were on there and then reviewed once there and removed. Which I believe was reported by either Mohammed Almazi or Mary Kostakidis on that day. So even after all those wonderful words that they sent us about transparency and openness and how they're going to assure that this is going to be great, they literally kick 40 people out of the live video stream on the very first day after the spectacle of rearresting Julian in court.
Yeah, in the end, there were only like 6 or 7 people directly in it, in that live stream thing. Just saying.
Yeah. No, the access was unbelievably limited. Like there was a very tiny amount of seats for the actual in-court seats. Reporters Without Borders, Rebecca Vincent had a terrible time. This is an NGO, like a legal observer. You know, we want those people in the courtroom just so that we can make sure that there's, you know, and NGOs aren't perfect. I'm not saying that they are, but you still want those people in the courtroom, right? For a case this big, absolutely. And she, like, Assange activists had to get to the court like at like 3 or 4 in the morning to hold a spot for Rebecca Vincent from Reporters Without Borders because they weren't allowing her in the courtroom. And it's ridiculous. So
this is a woman that has gone to fucking Turkey, that has gone to Middle
Malta,
Eastern countries
everywhere.
in the remote parts of Africa, and has gotten better welcomes than the United Kingdom gave her.
And she will openly tell you that this is one of the toughest cases that she's ever tried to cover for Reporters Without Borders, that her access has been unbelievably limited. And this is in the fucking UK. Like, you know, it's supposed to be like a Western democracy, right? Like, no, there's none of that. There's none of that. There's nothing about this case that's democratic or just, for that matter. It's all bullshit. I mean, somebody tweeted it out again. I think it was WikiLeaks, the Siggy Thordarson story. Y'all, the key witness in the case against Julian Assange recently admitted that he's full of shit and fabricated his testimony in exchange for immunity from the FBI. And Julian Assange is still in prison. That's what? Like, what is happening? Like, they don't have a case. Whatever little tiny, like tiny little thread of a case that they had, it imploded. It's gone, and he's still in prison. And we still have to go to court on October 27th and 28th, and we have to go through this whole bullshit again. And that's insanity. They have nothing. It's crazy. What did Kevin say? We shouldn't even be here?
We shouldn't. That's going to be my favorite one, because I think that was the very first stream that we did. We had Kevin join us as a guest.
And he was really tired too.
Yeah, he was upset.
Comedy gold.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah.
Those are.
I'm not kidding you guys. Those early morning streams, if you didn't watch them at the time, you should go back and watch them. The first hour of the first week, because they were on for like 3-4 hours a day. But like the first hour from like 5 to 6 a.m., Steve and Andrew are hilarious. They're really funny. That's really early in the morning. DC's rough anyways. There's not a lot of sleeping that goes on. It's constant motion. You're either making buttons or ironing shirts or loading up Tupperware or trying to find the duct tape that somebody left or lost the day before. And did you leave it in your car? And then you got to go out and, you know what I mean? Like it's perpetual bullshit. But yeah, and then trying to like live stream at 5 o'clock in the morning when you have zero sleep. That's not fun. The extradition hearing was when we woke up early for that. That was a really surreal day.
Yeah, that really was really weird. We were live back then. We heard like, so extradition is not going to happen, and it was all positive. We were all like celebrating on the air, right?
Yeah.
We had like people on the street celebrating. Like
that was one of the I want to go back and watch that again. Actually, first of all, Allie's expression, the fact that we got to be live on air with Allie and be the ones, like Steve was literally the one that told her, because she's just standing outside in the street, right? So she has and we're getting live tweets from Kevin Gostola. So we know what's going on inside the courtroom, and she doesn't. She's outside on the street, right? So Steve got to be the one to tell her all of the live tweets that were going in. And I know we've told this story before, but it was like shitty tweet after shitty tweet after shitty tweet where the judge is agreeing with the US over and over and over. And if you watch the thing, like, I'm pissed. I didn't speak a word for like 2 hours. I was so mad.
I was yelling. Like I don't yell
Andrew was
much.
yelling. Steve was trying to read the tweets and just like remain calm. And Kendra was trying to be positive. She's Kendra and she's lovely. And I honestly didn't say a word. I wanted to fight people, and I'm not a violent person. I've never been in a fight, but I wanted to fight people. And then all of a sudden, I remember Steve said like something that it sounded vaguely positive. And if you watch it, you can see my head kind of whip to the side. Like, what did he say? And then the next tweet is no extradition, and we're like, what? What? Like, I was so confused. Andrew's hilarious.
I didn't believe it. I had to go find it from other people. I'm like,
fam, he's sitting on the couch, like over on the right, all by himself. And like me, Kendra, and Steve are in this huge embrace. And then Kimber comes over and Paula comes over, and we're all like doing this huge group hug. Andrew literally takes so that Steve can hug everybody. And Andrew just sits there by himself on the side of the couch.
I'm not good in social situations.
Oh, we need to like clip that out. I need to clip it just for my own personal enjoyment, because that's some of the best memory. Like, that's a great memory. It was a really weird, fucked up morning.
That was a horrible morning, and then we had to figure out where to get cake.
Yeah, y'all, we went like ready to fight, like ready to protest, right? Like, we did not expect this to go our way at all. So, I mean, as pissed off as I was, I knew it was like, I figured it was coming. I thought he was going to get extradited. Legit thought he was going to get extradited. I was ready for the worst. And then when there was no extradition, we had to completely change everything that we had planned. Like, now it's a celebration kind of, and we wanted to take this win in, and so we had to like go get party supplies in the middle of DC. And yeah.
Well, I can tell you, after all these years, like it must be like a decade or longer. It was really the best, like 30 minutes of my life. I think it's like really, yeah.
It was weird, but it was fun and it felt exciting. And the relief, honestly, that just like I can breathe. You're right. It wasn't for long. It was like that day we allowed ourselves to feel good. But very quickly, like she agreed with the United States on all of the like free speech parts. And that's like, yes, we saved Julian's life right now, but the fight continued. And so I think we let ourselves have like that day, but it didn't last long.
Well, there's three conditions, if you remember cypherpunks, 3 victory conditions, and that's self-determination, pushing back against the pending dystopia, or facilitating the expedited collapse. And we managed to push back. We managed to, as a community, plant the flag to say, no, you are at least not extraditing him, right? Yeah. Which isn't a win. Like, it's a win in the most minor sense, but all of the legal precedent still has to be fought, because it's being used now and built upon to allow them to literally criminalize the act of embarrassing a UK public official.
I think it's okay for us, and I talk about this all the time, like I'll invent wins. I'll make shit up just to make myself feel better. You have to. There's so many losses, at least in what we do. I don't know. I mean, I'm not familiar with like environmental activism and how, like soul crushing that is or whatever. I'm sure that it's different for different areas, but in Assange activism or free speech, there's not a lot of wins. So you have to take them when you get them and use it as like a boost of energy, because it's depressing as fuck sometimes. And so when you get a little win like that, I think it's okay. We talked about it. Like we really we talked about it, because we were like, should we be celebrating? Because are we going to give off the wrong impression? Because this really isn't a big win. So that was a conversation that we had, but I think we all decided that it's important to like let yourself experience that. It's small, however small, but the victory, and have that sense of relief and be able to celebrate and revitalize yourself. I think every once in a while you need that,
Okay, well, okay. On that note, we did have some kind of win in our country Sunday, because that every like dissident speaker and scientist gets banned right now from social media platforms, YouTube and everything. But still, we managed to get 250,000 people in the streets in Amsterdam.
That's a fucking win. Hell yeah. Fuck
yeah,
that's a win.
I think it's the largest protest in Amsterdam since the 1980s, which were the protests against nuclear weapons. That American nuclear weapons were stationed in our country. So yeah, I think this is the largest protests since like the 80s, and
that's a huge win.
Yeah, I'm thinking that this Saturday is going to be even bigger. The 11th.
Get them, Amsterdam. Get them.
Yeah, and Australia's
Yeah.
going off. The UK,
Yeah.
France
Yes,
is
Paris
always
and
in front
Berlin
of
and the UK,
everything with
yeah.
everybody. But
Yeah,
Amsterdam,
you're
because
right.
that's massive for Amsterdam, because that's not the biggest country in the world either. So
No.
It's a small city. There's only 700,000 people total in the city itself. So
That's amazing. Yeah, France has been popping off, but France always pops off. They're the gold medalist of protesting forever. Forever. They pop off all the time. I love it. I love the French. But yeah, the UK is popping off. Even Canada. Even we're starting to see some shit move around a little bit in Canada. The United States is still sitting on the couch, but
we need more here in the U.S. But
That's what I'm saying.
but honestly, now that school has started again in 2021, you can like feel the like grumblings.
Yeah.
Like you see, like the local newspaper literally ran a headline a couple Sundays ago about teachers and school board members being punched in the face all across the country for trying to enforce mandates on kids. So
I'm not sure if you guys
see out there.
Can we stop punching teachers and shit? That even if you don't agree with a mask mandate, it's not the teacher's fault.
No.
Stop fucking up CVS drugstores because the person behind the cash register tells you to wear your mask. It's not their fault. Like some girl walked into, I don't know if it was CVS or Walgreens or whatever, and like just wrecked the whole store. You're not hurting anybody but the people that work there. The minimum wage worker that now has to clean up after your tantrum.
I mean, to be fair,
there are other ways to fight back.
To be fair, there was a
ways.
time where I was going to buy a cake from Giant Eagle during the whole mask thing in Ohio, and I didn't have my mask on. I went through the whole store and I said hi to everybody, like all the employees and stuff, and I get to the very front to pay for this cake, and a manager with a mask and a face shield comes like running up like, "You have to leave!" and some poor Giant Eagle employee hopefully has this video saved, but I literally drop kicked the cake across the front of the store. So literally they had to pay people to go clean chips and shit like that because it was covered in chocolate cake. So whatever way you can make them waste money, I personally believe in, because that's probably like hundreds of dollars in labor hours that they had to spend doing that corporation then has
Not
to pay
really.
for.
That employee was already had to be there. You just gave them something to do.
Right. I mean, that's fair too. But I prefer the Alex Hills method of like give them no quarter. But that's just...
Yeah, I've worked retail. I don't want to clean up after your tantrum. It's not my fault. I didn't come up with the mask mandate. Go protest at your Capitol building or, do something. Jesus. It's really not even the corporations. That's a government thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, keep your focus, yeah.
But to pull it back to Julian's trial, right? Because I want to keep fucking talking about this letter that was sent to us as a community a year ago today. Because the whole spiel of that letter was like, this is going to be so much better. Like, there's not going to be problems or issues. Like, we got it all figured out, right? And there was tons of shit. Like Mohammed El-Mazi, as Misty was talking about, a torture victim, literally couldn't connect to the platform, right? Like, the UK government made their own special proprietary video software when there's already all of these special proprietary softwares out there that everyone has access to use in a situation like this. But I'll pull it up on screen just to show everybody. While the court trial was going on, I was going through... Oh, it didn't say right. I was going through the Twitter threads and putting documentation in, just basically giving myself the ability to have search terms in Julian's trial for what was talked about, what was covered. Ooh, I suck at this. But the gist of it is literally in the course of this trial where the prosecution was blaming the defense for taking so long with witness statements and all of this, there was 19 separate times where there was reported technical issues throughout the course of Julian's trial that delayed the hearings, that forced testimony to be split into 2 days in some cases, delaying the entire proceedings all the way through the entire thing. But somehow in some way, the prosecution as well as the judge got to blame the defense for how long and all of the issues that were put forward with the delays in court. So I just thought that's a brutally terrible statistic, that there can be 19 different instances, and this is just what I chronicled through 16, I believe, of the 18 days of the trial. So I just thought that's an interesting thing to throw out there in regards to all this.
The head prosecution forgot his charger and slept in the wrong house. They weren't taking this shit seriously at all. Cocaine and hookers. I'm just saying.
That's my favorite story.
That is my favorite story. I'm sticking to it. Cocaine and hookers.
Funny story about that story. I got to talk to Kathy Vogan about it. And they were actually hooked up to the video feed and got a much different perspective of it from that angle. But I insisted to her that we should run with the story of the cocaine and hookers that QC Lewis, I believe his name is, woke up in his wrong house. He woke up in his flat in London instead of in his house on the other side of town, and he didn't have his laptop charger or his cell phone charger or all of his paperwork. And this was the fourth day of court, right? So Prosecutor Lewis forgets absolutely everything, and then Claire Dobbins, I don't even have words to describe these people anymore, right? But Claire Dobbins then calls in sick, and she's like, my husband may or may not have had symptoms that could or couldn't be coronavirus, and I don't think we should do court today. And because of the prosecution's incompetence, because of their ability to show up, because of their ability to do what literally at that time they were mandating every person in the UK do, which is lock the fuck down, don't travel, you can leave your house for 1 hour a day with your family, right? And they weren't even following that and caused delays in Julian's trial. Like, I don't support the lockdown measures by any means, but they couldn't even support their own narrative with it by having all like the self-quarantine bullshit that everyone was doing.
Well, listen, the shenanigans surrounding this case, period. The fact that Julian wasn't able to meet with his lawyers, the fact that he was given a laptop with the keys glued down, the fact that his legal paperwork was taken from him multiple different times, that he was not granted access to his legal documentation so that he could participate in his own defense multiple times throughout this whole ordeal. It's ridiculous. It's insane. His human rights, like his just ability to defend himself. And this is a guy who's up against the largest empire the world has ever seen. Like, this is like a big, what do they call it? Like the end boss? Like it's an end boss. Like, you're up against it, right? And they keep fucking with his ability to even just participate in his own defense. And nobody gives a shit. And if they can do it to him, they can and will do it to other people too.
Rightfully so, they have done it to other people. Like Mumia is a wonderful example of that, of a journalist that was literally covering fire bombings that were being committed by the police from airplanes in the poor black communities, and then got stitched up because an officer got shot by friendly fire in the back of the head while he was in a house that had no firearms in it. And they said that he committed the murder and he had to go to jail for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Like, we're fighting as much for
Craig
his
Murray
right to publish as for Julian's.
Yeah, they're doing it to Craig Murray right now. Craig Murray's serving 8 months in prison for some bullshit. I mean, journalism is under attack across the globe. Period. End of story.
Right, Iowa, really the center of freedom and democracy and life, right, is passing ad gag laws, like harsher environmental gag order laws, where you can be arrested for filming people protesting. In the state of Iowa. That is the laws that they're trying to pass. That's simply the act of journalism filming a protester protesting agricultural absurdities and literally just slaughterhouses. That's now illegal in the state of Iowa, that they're fighting at a Supreme Court level.
Yeah, and I do want to give some quick context on the UK law system, which is kind of like an old boys network, which is kind of like in our own country, where there are lawyers from these super expensive big law firms who are actually part-time judges too. And they are an old boys network in the sense that they meet each other, they go to parties with each other. These are like expensive lawyers and they party with judges. And that is really how it is. This is not, I'm not going to say like you're lucky to live in the US, but at least it's a bigger country where this network is much bigger. In a country like the UK, especially in my own country, which is a tiny country, they all know each other. So you're dealing with a thing that there is so much corruption going on behind the scenes, and there are so many little deals being made that we are actually, as a public, dealing with really a horrible situation. You can already see how they're treating Assange too, and that they're actually agreeing to this, right? They're not there's none of these people from that old boys network. Like, there are plenty of lawyers in the UK who know this is wrong, but they're not standing up against it because they're all part of that little network, that little club of people.
Yep.
They want to keep their high-paying clients and stuff,
and their connections. They want to continue going to the dinner parties. It's gross. It's gross. I have some hypocrisy we can make fun of if you guys want to, Andrew. Okay, so this okay. Well, I just, you know me, I like to expose hypocrisy, and there was some fun hypocrisy recently. So this is Secretary Antony Blinken. People are not bargaining chips. Today on Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig's 1,000th day of arbitrary detention by the People's Republic of China. We stand with our Canadian allies at Canada FP and calling for their immediate and unconditional release. Hello, can I introduce you to Julian Assange, who's been arbitrarily detained for like 3,000 some odd days? Can we maybe talk about that? And then also we have, lovely Australian government. Australia stands with our friends in Canada and will continue to work with international partners against the practice of arbitrary detention and to end its use as a coercive tool. Neither one of these two fuckfaces ever talk about Assange. Neither one of them. And this is the hypocrisy that we see constantly. Watch on World Press Freedom Day. Just pay attention. Next year on World Press Freedom Day, the hypocrisy is amazing. It's amazing. People like Bernie Sanders, Anthony Blinken, all these people talk about how press freedom is so central to our democracy and we must protect it at all costs. Neither of these fuckfaces talk about Julian Assange. None of these people talk about Julian Assange. It's gross. And I hate it. I hate these people so much. Seriously. But people eat this up. They eat it up. They think, oh, isn't this great? We're standing up against China. And they're arbitrarily detaining of journalists while you're torturing Julian Assange to death.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense at all.
It's shitty that that's even the comparison, that we have to, as the United States, be like, well, we've had this dude behind bars or incarcerated in some way for almost 4,000 days.
No, they should be standing up against arbitrary detention, absolutely. Yep. But stop your fucking hypocrisy. Stop torturing Julian Assange. Stop going after whistleblowers and journalists. Stop beating journalists up at protests. Stop macing them. Stop shooting them with rubber bullets. You can't pretend to be for press freedom and democracy and free speech, and you're like this, beacon on the hill of, all things good and right in the world, and then torture Julian Assange. Shut the fuck up. I'm just going to start responding to all of these people. Free Assange or shut the fuck up.
Basically at this point,
free Assange or shut the fuck up, period. Sick of your shit.
So big shout out to Glory Jones. She's in the chat modding. I appreciate it. If you want to hop in, Glory, you can. The link's always open to you.
I love me some Glory Jones.
But so I did want to touch on one thing. Oh, she's still in class.
Hi, Lucky.
And this is just to pull back to the court trial, because there was a bunch of absurdities that happened right at the very beginning. And it's something that the Consortium News video touches on, but I wanted to expand on, because this is something that is one of those weird, fucking confusing portions of Julian's prosecution, because of the way that the U.S. rolled out the indictments against him. So Judge Breitzer is in court while waiting for Assange. To be brought into the room, she confirms that he was arrested pursuant to the second superseding indictment. Assange confirms his name, date of birth. The old extradition request is withdrawn. Assange has not been able to see the warrant that was served. According to the defense, the prosecution says Assange was served the papers this morning, which is a habitual thing that you saw the prosecution do, literally giving every witness a massive 300-page PDF, like, hey, review this, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, you have to be here at 6. So they did the same thing to Julian, where these charges came out in a press release way before all of this. I believe it was in June, and it wasn't actually turned over to the British courts until till early August, I believe. And the defense was never able to give this to Julian because the way that he was literally incarcerated, they have all of the papers taken, and they gave it to him that morning. And Assange got rearrested there in the courtroom. We're dealing with formalities because the floating U.S.-UK extradition treaty guidelines, the U.S. issued a superseding indictment mid-process, expanding narrative details, and forced the court to rearrest Assange. They should have done this back in June, not until today. And essentially, the reason why this is such a problem, not only because the U.S. only has a certain period of time to re-release charges, but also because it allowed them to expand what they were actually saying they were going after him for in the conspiracy charge, which then included information about Julian's relationship with Edward Snowden and Sarah Harrison to get Julian to Moscow, but also included the now defunct Sigger testimony that they referred to as teenager. Basically, the FBI hired a kid to run around the internet and get a bunch of hackers to believe that they are doing the work for WikiLeaks because Sigger told them that he was Julian's right-hand man because the FBI was paying him to do that. And it got a bunch of people caught up. And Sigger has since recanted that testimony. That he's literally this fucking sociopath whose words shouldn't even be included in this court trial to begin with. Right, this sociopath was like, well, yeah.
And
no,
when
I
Andrew
fucking
says sociopath, he's diagnosed. Like he's not just throwing out. He's a diagnosed sociopath. Right. Just so we're clear.
And serial pedophile on
yes.
top of it, which
Convicted
is very habitual
molester.
for the way the United States actually operates.
Yeah, this is who they gave immunity to, in order for fabricated testimony against Julian Assange. That's who we're operating with. It's disgusting. Seriously. Y'all, the fact that they would give immunity to this guy in order to make up testimony about Julian Assange should tell you everything that you need to know. This is not a good person. He's a career criminal. In fact, he was convicted for embezzling over $50,000 from WikiLeaks in Iceland. And again, serial pedophile. But they gave him immunity. Great job, FBI. I'm probably going to get in so much trouble for that.
I just want to clip out all the times that you like compliment the FBI or CIA or NSA and put it into just one nice like film reel.
Guys are doing. We should make like a very sarcastic, but deadpan, like we love the FBI.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I'm so sad that Steve never did the ASMR. I don't know if you remember that whole era of time, but when Steve was gonna do like anti-war criminal ASMR for the lulz. I'm sad that never happened.
We could probably get him some shrooms and pay him to do it.
Yeah. We have to get him the like ASMR like mic with the earpieces so we can like whisper and
the binaural microphones.
Yeah, something like that.
I know my ASMR. It helps me sleep. I'm not kidding. If y'all have problems with sleep, it really does. I'm not kidding. It doesn't help everybody. Like it's not a thing that everybody experiences, but I do. And it's very relaxing. And it gives you what they call the tingles. Like you'll know it. If you're somebody that like, if you like your hair played with, if that gives you the tingles, you know what I'm talking about, like the little shivers. That's kind of the experience that it is. And it's very relaxing. So I highly recommend it. It's good for anxiety. Stop laughing, Andrew. That's a real thing, you little fucker. It's a real thing. I highly recommend Gentle Whispering. She's Russian, so I love her.
Oh, I love us.
Yeah, we're weird.
Right.
We went over this on Bitch the other day about how I'm so unbelievably awkward.
So I have more if we want to keep going, but...
We can. I'm tired.
We
have like 5 minutes.
I guess the last one. Just to talk about what the fuck we're actually all here for. This is showing some behind the scenes stuff for all my wonderful Google things. Fuck Google, by the way. I'm just lazy, so I use them. Let me screen share this.
Really, dude?
This is an article produced by Elizabeth Lee Voss that I clipped out 3 sections of. I'll drop the links into chat for everybody. But it's worth talking about the war crimes and the things that we're actually opposing here, because this isn't just a hoorah for Julian. There were real people that were affected, and the leaks that came out exposed a lot of different things in the world. So this is 3 of them. So let's see how this goes.
Do you want me to read,
covering
Andrew?
up civilian... What?
I said, do you want me to read?
If you want to.
I don't care. You always seem very depressed when you have to read.
I'm dyslexic, so whenever I read, I feel like it sucks.
Okay,
But
you can read if you want.
no,
I'm
you can
just
read.
offering.
You totally can
Okay,
read.
all right. So covering up civilian casualties. The diaries documented cover-ups and misreporting of civilian deaths. The Guardian reported that the files illustrated at least 21 separate occasions in which British troops were said to have shot or bombed Afghan civilians, including women and children. Quote, some casualties were accidentally caused by airstrikes, but many also are said to involve British troops firing on unarmed drivers or motorcyclists who come too close to convoys or patrols, end quote, the newspaper reported. Quote, bloody errors at civilians' expense, as recorded in the logs, include the day French troops strafed, I'm guessing, a bus full of children in 2008, wounding 8. A U.S. patrol similarly machine gunned a bus, wounding or killing 15 of its passengers. And in 2007, Polish troops mortared a village, killing a wedding party, including a pregnant woman, in an apparent revenge attack, end quote, said The Guardian. The diaries revealed a cover-up of civilian casualties and possible evidence of war crimes. Quote, these detailed reports show coalition forces attacks on civilians, friendly fire incidents, and Afghan forces attacking each other, so-called green on green, end quote, The Guardian said. At least 20 friendly fire cases were reported. Assange said in a written affidavit given in 2013 that the material documented, quote, detailed records about the death of nearly 20,000 people, end quote.
Okay, just real quick, it said strafed, and that means that you just start shooting from like left to right, and you shoot everything in between.
And this is something we're seeing happen in real time right now in Afghanistan, where there's reports of U.S. troops just fucking opening fire on crowds from right in front of them and from guard towers. Like it's
we just drone striked a family, 7 babies, 7 kids, y'all, 2-year-olds.
And like this is why I have to pull it back to something real quick. This is why I have such deep respect for Chelsea Manning. And this is why it fucking bothers me so much, because there are things like this that are still fucking happening that we still can't talk about in polite public society, right?
Yeah.
So like that's the part that bothers me about the whole thing, is that, like, again, this is literally the mountains that we have to move. But let me
So depressing. God damn it.
pull this back in here.
Well, these are all real people you're dealing with, right? And
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, radio psyops. The Afghan War Diaries illustrated the implementation of U.S. and coalition-backed psyops via Afghani radio stations. Quote, several reports from Army psychological operation units and provincial reconstructive teams, also known as PRTs, civilian military hybrids, tasked with rebuilding Afghanistan, show that local Afghan radio stations were under contract to air content produced by the United States. Other reports show U.S. military personnel apparently referring to Afghan reporters as, quote, our journalists, end quote, and directing them in how to do their jobs, end quote. Yahoo News, July 27th, 2015. One June 2007 document classified secret also describes alleged self-censorship among Pakistan's media. Quote, Pakistan's cable television operators report that they are under continuing pressure, read requirement to block news broadcasts emanating from the 3 television news networks. Most cable networks are complying with government directives that trickled down to cable owners on June 1st. On that day, all cable companies in Pakistan ceased airing ARY news, while AAJ TV became unavailable in 70% of the country. As of 1700 local June 5th, ARY was available again throughout Pakistan. We are 1700. Okay. We are attempting to ascertain whether the network is self-censoring, end quote. So that's your narrative management. There you go.
Right? And to pull this back to an earlier conversation about the whole way that people are trying to frame organizers as you have illegitimate organizers and legitimate organizers, right? The psychological operation manual of the United States, according to what we have from these words, is literally trying to delegitimize sources as being unlegitimate, while these other ones are the actual proven fact ones, right?
Yeah.
So you can see, if we knew all of these informations and it was like public knowledge the way that this operated, we could take so much power away from these pretend politicians and people that call for real organizers to be marching in the streets, rather than, or for you to be marching under, not even to be marching. So
that's why this legitimately impacts everything, because you live in a manufactured reality. You don't live in truth. You are force fed your reality, and that's a real problem. I mean, that's a real. We don't even know what's happening. I mean, how are we effectively supposed to fight back when we don't even know the truth? We don't even know what's happening. And that's where we're at. We don't, I mean, that's Julian Assange once gave that speech where he said all of your arguments over political ideology are bankrupt because we don't even know the truth. We don't even know where we are. How are we supposed to decide where we're going if we don't even know where we are?
So last piece of terribleness to talk about, and this is one of the darker ones. Yep. Task Force 373.
Oh yeah, okay. All right. The Afghan War Diaries describe the activities of Task Force 373, a unit whose existence was unknown prior to WikiLeaks' 2010 publication. At least 200 incidents involving Task Force 373 were reported to have been found amongst the Afghan War Diaries material. Quote, the NATO coalition in Afghanistan has been using an undisclosed black unit of special forces, Task Force 373, to hunt down targets for death or detention without trial. Details of more than 2,000 senior figures from the Taliban and Al-Qaeda are held on a kill or capture list known as JPEL, the Joint Prioritized Effects List, end quote, reported The Guardian on the day of the diary's release. The article added, quote, in many cases, the unit has set out to seize a target for internment, but in others, it has simply killed them without attempting to capture. The logs reveal that Task Force 373 has also killed civilian men, women, and children, and even Afghan police officers who have strayed into its path, end quote. The Huffington Post also wrote regarding Task Force 373 in the weeks following WikiLeaks' publication of the files, quote, the WikiLeaks data suggests that as many as 2,058 people on a secret hit list called the Joint Prioritized Effects List were considered capture kill targets in Afghanistan. A total of 757 prisoners, most likely from this list, were being held at the Bagram Theater internment facility, a U.S.-run prison on Bagram Air Base, as of the end of December 2009, end quote.
So we built a secret fucking prison, and we did this all over the world. This is just one instance, but the reason it's so important in today's context, right? We built this secret black site fucking torture facility in the middle of Bagram Airfield, the largest U.S. military base, right? We've abandoned those places. We left that torture facility that we fucking built behind and just walked the fuck away. Like, not that we need to go back, but we shouldn't have been there in the first place to build these facilities to then have them not be destroyed when we fucking leave. So they have monuments to our torture that they can now use for whatever methods or means they so choose if they want to do that. Because we abandoned Bagram Airfield, the largest military base in Afghanistan, weeks before the fall of Kabul, giving the Taliban tons of weapons and tons of vehicles to do the rest
helicopters, weapons, you name it. Listen, if we don't arm the terrorists, we won't have to fight the terrorists. If they have weapons, they're scarier. So then we have reason to fight them harder, right? That's all this is about.
So what's your take on all the fucking craziness in Afghanistan, Mark? Because you're from outside of the U.S., so you get different things from us.
Yeah, okay, well, it starts already with them actually building the Taliban back then, like against the Russians, right? The Americans built pretty much that whole movement against the Russians decades ago. And now they leave Afghanistan, so to speak, officially leave Afghanistan, and they leave all the weapons behind, right? Which actually makes no sense at all. Pretty much throwing this entire country into chaos again, which for some reason always seems to happen and seems to benefit some big, powerful people, big corporations. Because it is kind of like how the Rockefeller said this, like almost 120 years ago, like, the best time to buy something is when the blood is running through the streets. And that pretty much means that when there is complete chaos, product you want to buy or you want to invest, it's just a lot cheaper. So when you put things into chaos and you're actually dealing with leaders of these groups like the Taliban, it's much easier to bargain with them, right? Kind of like in Iraq, you had an Iraqi government, whether you like them or not, Saddam Hussein and whatever, was once put in power by the Americans. The Ba'ath Party was put in power in the 1960s by the Americans. I mean, they pretty much provided a list to the Baath Party of 6,000 communists back then, and 5,000 of those were instantly murdered. And that's how the Baath Party got into power in Iraq, right? And when they wanted to get rid of him, they did that, and they made the country descend into chaos. But for some reason, the oil fields are well guarded, and the oil is still being bought there. It's just a lot cheaper to buy it now. Because if you have a powerful government there, the government can actually decide the price. If you have a rogue group running it, they decide the price, and they can make it a lot cheaper. You can pretty much, you just trade it for some weapons or something, right? And well, and now I have the Taliban, and you have ISIS coming in, and you have other groups, and they're going to fight for power forever, and then maybe for some reason the Americans are going to convince everyone again that they have to go into another great war to restore order out of the chaos, right? And everyone is going to accept it again because everyone is scared of the Taliban. So yeah, he's pretty much talking about forever war and forever chaos in the region. That's how I see it. And it's the same everywhere. Syria, Libya, Iraq.
Yeah. I'm tired of people pretending like a war ended. No wars were ended. No wars were ended. God damn it. No wars. God.
Smart the CIA sticks around.
Yes, smart, huge platforms. Kyle Kalinske, I'm looking at you, fucker. He's out there telling people that the war is over. The war is not over. Stop misinforming your audience. That's dangerous. Stop doing that, please. It's not over.
I thought it was funny. There was that picture was released where you saw that helicopter leaving like Vietnam, and they compared it to that helicopter leaving. Well, I'm not sure if people are aware that the day the Americans left Vietnam was the exact day the first McDonald's opened in their capital city. So you can just check that back. This is literally the corporations move in, right? And kind of like the Blackwaters move in after that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, Kyle Kalinske pissed me off because he's out there pretending like he did this whole segment on, or this whole tweet storm where he was like just knob slobbing Joe Biden's speech that he gave, right? Like this is such a great speech. We're leaving Afghanistan. Good for him for standing up to the military industrial complex. And in this speech, Joe Biden is literally talking about our over the horizon capabilities and how we're still going to be fighting the war on terror in Afghanistan and in other countries around the region. Like, dude was straight up telling you he's still going to be drone bombing this country. And you're out here praising him, pretending like he's standing up to military industrial complex and ending a war. He's not. They're just redrawing it. We talked to Danny Scherzen 3 weeks before the withdrawal, and we covered this, and we called out exactly what was going to happen, how they're going to pretend to leave. We're going to withdraw all the troops. They're just redesigning it. It's just rebranding. That's all this is. It's now going to be a drone war. That's it, period. And we know, thanks to Daniel Hale, that 90% of people killed by drone strikes are civilians. So congratulations. You're praising this absolute douche canoe warmonger for committing to a drone war. That's what you're telling your audience, and you're praising him like he's ended something. It's gross. Do better, please. We need better independent media.
Right, and this is Joe Biden. Like, Daniel Hale revealed the crimes of Joe Biden's former administration, right? The Obama administration, where we know that they were going through American citizens on baseball cards, reviewing their crimes on the back, deciding who to kill in these drone programs. While at the same time, we have a mainstream media hyping war and hyping domestic terrorism and calling for drone strikes here in the United States to handle the growing white supremacy issues and the January 6th insurrection, right? So like all of this is all intertwined, and people have such a hard time just seeing it as it is, because it's honestly horrifying.
Yeah.
It's actually exactly like Missy said. Daniel Hill said that everyone was like designated a hostile target until proven otherwise. So they were all targets, and then afterwards you could research were they actually civilians or
drone first, ask questions later. Blow them up first, ask questions later. And children, women, kids, like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They don't care. But I mean, everybody's pretending like that's not a thing. CIA is still staying. We're not leaving Afghanistan. I wish, seriously, it makes me so. And then Ryan Grimm and Jordan Cheriton attack me on Twitter for coming at Joe Biden from the left. Really? Really? That you're going to punch down at an activist for coming at Joe Biden on foreign policy from the left? Rethink your priorities. Seriously. It's gross. Stop lying to your audiences. It's gross. No wars ended.
And if you look back, right, because we have an interesting angle from reviewing Julian's case and the information that Chelsea Manning released, where you can see during President Obama's administration, when all this information was coming out, they were trying to spin it to make it sound like the war in Iraq ended. Like that's their overall agenda and goal, is to get a certain number of people to just believe it and tune the fuck out. And every time they try to push a propaganda point, it's not necessarily because it's even true or because it's not easily disprovable. It's because there's a certain number of people that will latch onto that information and run with it like it's fucking gospel, right? You can go back and find 2010 articles ran in major news publications that say the war in Iraq has ended and that the troops are coming home. While at the same time in those same publications you can find information about like troop surges that were taking place and redeployments in the areas and shit. Like it's just the level that these corporations that run our media are able to double speak is just beyond the level of absurdity at this point.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
I think we're good. We didn't even end on anything weird this time.
You know. We did talk about some really depressing shit though.
We did.
We did. Welcome to the vigil.
But shout out to Elizabeth Lee Voss for writing that article. I'm going to drop that link.
Please support her work. Please support Consortium News' work. They do amazing work on Assange and other whistleblowers.
Because she has, if you're someone that likes to take the dark dives into the actual truth about the world we live in.
Yeah, she does deep dives, like really well researched.
And she has a Rockfin too, I believe. And she's recently done some work with Whitney Webb on like the Jeffrey Epstein situation and
yeah, she was in school for a while.
But
yeah, she was in school for a while, so she was quiet there for a little bit. But I think she will either she has more time now or she will have some more time in the near future. So, but definitely support her work. She does great stuff. I love her.
But do you guys want to close out?
We can. Yeah. I'm Misty. You can find me on Twitter at Sarcasm Stardust. I have another show called Facts on the Ground with my friend Jesse Zerwell. And like I said earlier, we just interviewed Pasta and Shonda to talk about To Hell and Back, which is their show on the opioid addiction, which you can find on Roar Media. Let's see. I also have Bitch with Comrade Misty every Wednesday at 7 Eastern. Tomorrow we have Danny Haifong. I'm really excited. We've been moots on Twitter for a long time. I've been trying to get him on one of my shows for a long time. It's always like weird scheduling stuff or whatever. So I'm really excited to finally meet and talk to him tomorrow. That's going to be a blast. Next week on Bitch, I have Tara Reid, which that'll be fun. We'll obviously be able to talk about the Time's Up bullshit and Anita Dunn and all of that good stuff. So I adore her. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Other than that, just in the damn wars protest. If you have one near you, go to it. If you don't have one near you, become one. Go get a poster board and a Sharpie and be a protest. That's all it takes. And I think that's all I have right now, actually. So yeah. Thanks for coming to the vigil, guys.
What about you, Mark? Where can people find you? And do you have any new articles coming out anytime soon?
Yeah, I have a big article coming up about protests in Europe. But just go to my little blog, marklubbers.com, because that's where you find all these links to my social media, because I lose social media accounts all the time. And but you go to that little blog, you see this thing called social media. You click on it and you see all these different social media accounts. They change a lot. So, but yeah, that's where you can find me. And on Thursday we have the ABP show. Just search for Anonymous Bites Back on Twitter or whatever, or any social media you are. And also, one more new thing. We have a YouTube account on youtube.com/anothervoice. It's called Another Voice, and it has all the videos of European protests on it. And myself and also my friend Rico Brouwer, they are uploading. We're uploading the videos there. So it's interviews with protesters too, like in the streets and stuff. So it's a word to actually see that.
Awesome.
That's pretty much it.
My name's Andrew Smith. You can find me on Twitter at Andrew Zigman. You can find us at action_4 Assange. If you're watching on YouTube, on any of the YouTube platforms, please go to Rockfin. We do stream to Rockfin at the same time as we do these shows, in case you're someone who's already there and doesn't know that. But yeah, I just appreciate everybody that joined in tonight for the talk. I thought it was really cool to have a variety of people that have done a variety of wonderful things in the organizing space. So thank you for everyone who joined us and everyone who tuned in. And I look forward to seeing everybody. If you are coming to DC, I will see you there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 10, 11, and 12. And like Misty said, be your own protest. Literally, we had someone that in Berlin decided to just walk out with a sign and take pictures. More of that, please, if you can, if you're an individual, because it breaks the mundanity of people's life, right? Like they run through the same shit, and then all of a sudden there's someone in their face with an "End the Damn Wars" sign. So please do what you can with the time and money that you have, and thank you all for hanging out.